Bold, daring, unpredictable. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Robert Vaughn and David McCallum. Friday at 8:30, 7:30 Central Time on NBC.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
His paintings redefined comic book heroes. His vision inspired a generation. The Legend of Kingdom Come is the definitive documentary on Alex Ross, known as the Norman Rockwell of comics.
It almost looked like Renaissance paintings, except for superheroes.
He makes them look like Olympian gods.
We go behind the scenes of his definitive graphic novel, Kingdom Come, now on Blu-ray, packed with exclusive interviews and unseen artwork. Order today at legendofkingdomcome.com.
If you're here at Word Balloon, it's because you like comics, creators, conversation, pop culture subjects. Would you consider joining the League of Word Balloon Listeners? Patreon.com/wordballoon. For just $3 a month or more, you'll get exclusive access to the Word Balloon e-magazine, featuring transcriptions of some of my best conversations. When you subscribe, you'll also be part of the Word Balloon Book Club, where Brian Michael Bendis and I will pick a comic every month to review and discuss live with the League on this show. Join the League today, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you always for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Siuntres here at half speed, but I promise you a good conversation. This is my voice. Sotto voce.
Yeah.
No, I'm all right.
Need some Tylenol? What can I get for you?
I'm okay.
What do you need? I'm a father. I need to take care of you.
I'll
ask you questions.
Strong words from Lex Luthor. I appreciate that. I am always happy to welcome back.
Wait a second.
Good friend. And this has been a good friend week. We had Bendis and I did the book club on Monday. And now it's time for the King's Speech.
3 hours of you talking to Bendis over Christmas break, and I loved every second of it.
Oh, thanks, brother.
You guys talked for 20 years, and it's been a joy. It's been one of the great ongoing conversations in pop culture. Well done, Mr. Siuntres.
Well, thank you, brother. It's always good to see Tom King, and you'll really appreciate book club. I'm so sorry you couldn't make it Monday, but we did.
Well, I don't care for these comic books. Words are pick a lane. Pick a lane.
We did The Hunter, and that's of course based on Richard Stark and Donald Westlake, and we Point Blank came up in conversation. Another film. We'll get to the old movie stuff, but real quick, I've never seen The Outfit with Duvall and Joe Don Baker from the early 70s.
Never seen The Outfit. It's much better than Point Blank. Put them next to each other.
I'm gonna have to check it out, man.
The Outfit is a very good movie. Joe Don Baker.
He is,
and it has a ton of Marie Windsor's in it. It has a ton of old noir actors and actresses that are in their elderly years who are doing. It's quite wonderful.
Yeah, honestly, I now get why Joe Don Baker was kind of mad at the Mystery Science Theater guys for making fun of Mitchell, because they really picked his shittiest movie, and he actually was in a lot of great movies.
He found out he knew about that? I had no idea. That is definitely my first exposure to Joe Don Baker. I watched Mitchell 3 times. It was one of my favorite episodes. Oh. It is one of the all-time great MST3Ks, and whenever I see him, I think. Did you hear about he's most famous? What is it called? Stand Tall. What is it?
Buford Pusser. He was the original Buford Pusser. Walking Tall.
Walking Tall. But did you hear that now they think it's like The Simpsons? They now think that Buford, instead of saving his wife, killed his wife. That's yeah.
It's the real case.
The real case, the real shit. Wow. It's based on who's who was the tough guy who's being portrayed. And this is a little controversial, but there's an article in the New York Times. Go read it. And it's one of those things where it's he was famous for saving his wife dying in front of him as a bunch of gangsters. But the more modern evidence indicates he just drove out and killed her and then blamed people who weren't there, and that he was just this horrible human being.
All right, I'm going to try and do some of my voices. I really wonder when Robert Wagner finally passes, if we'll finally get that extra evidence about Natalie Wood. Although he still claims his innocence. 95.
You're talking to someone who's read all 3 of Robert Wagner's memoirs. I know way too much about.
Me
Robert.
too. I got the audios, but man, he's great.
Yeah, the audios. Yeah, the audios. He does it.
I can't believe when I got to meet Fred Astaire at our favorite clothier.
He is the most name-dropping mother effer. Yeah, that's what.
Well, that's fine. You know, I mean, he straddled those wonderful old Hollywood eras and the new stuff. I'm actually glad that my Robert Wagner wasn't that bad. I got to be honest.
Father hates Robert Wagner. I can't explain why this is. He came over to my father was over for Christmas break. My father worked at a bookstore in Beverly Hills in the late 60s, early 70s. And when bookstores were like a place when you had to go to a bookstore to get a book. And so according to my father, who is not the most truthful of men, every celebrity who ever was created in God's earth came into his bookstore and he befriended them all. And he's like, except Robert Wagner. I hated him. He was the worst. I was like, well, it was very bizarre that my father went in. Who even thinks about Robert Wagner? He's one of the few, I'm the noir. I just love noirs. He's one of the few noir stars that's left on this earth. So I'm glad he's still out there.
Yeah. Although he was the killer. He was the college killer in that one movie in the late 50s. I know that.
Yes. In Kiss of Death? Kiss of something. Some kiss.
Something. Not Kiss of Death, but something like that.
Yeah, it's a kiss. Movie.
I literally, and I'm so glad.
And the female lead is also alive in that, who's Paul Newman's wife. You are listening to 2 old men who can't think of names anymore.
Joanne Woodward.
Joanne Woodward. Yes, they're both around. Kiss of
No, she's gone. She's gone.
She's gone? Are you sure?
Oh yeah. No, they're both. I'm reasonably certain they're both gone. Somebody on the chat, look it up to confirm. But
how much of my life is like me watching old things with my kids and pointing out the few people that are still alive.
Oh, that's so great, man! You're training them. Good.
That just I think it's like you fear death so much you're just hoping some people are still clinging to it that are ahead of you in the equation. I've entered that phase of my life. I watched that. I was like, I'm still alive. Well,
now that I've entered my 6th decade, I am, and it's totally fine. And really, this is not me shitting on the people older than us, but I am really surprised at how many friends of mine, good friends, are in their 70s now. They were always 10 years older, and here we are. Well, and again, here I am, I'm older than you, and now in my 60s, old man. But you gave me the intro though, because given that you just talked about your dad, we got to talk about Trinity 6. Hey, way to make me cry, asshole. Jesus Christ. Anybody that lost a parent.
What a transition. What a pro you are, John.
Well, you gave me the opening. If people haven't read that, first of all, the entire series is great. And having seen a sneak preview of what's to come in Wonder Woman, Lizzie's story does continue, obviously as a baby, because in the modern DC era. But that's great. But man, you just broke my heart. This wonderful, because of Lizzie's ability, timey-wimey story where she gets to talk to her dad, Steve, and spend the day with Dad. And as Steve is saying here in the panel, how wonderful is that? No, it was beautiful, man. And again, I'm not going to get emotional.
Subtle writing, because it's like Wonder Woman. How wonderful! My God, that's Eisner-winning, right?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's so touching that. That's every kid who's lost their parent. That's their wish. Can I have one more day? Yeah. And again, this isn't me crying. This is the cold.
You're affecting me now. I'm getting off a Clem. Thanks.
I know, man. I tell you,
your cold is touching my heart.
2 grown men crying. Absolutely, man.
Thank you. That issue meant a ton to me. That was one of those planes I wasn't sure I was able to land, and then I came up. I was like, oh, we'll do a day of. It was one of those things. This happens to me often, especially with my daughter. For some reason, I'll be doing some random routine with my daughter, and I'll be like, I have no idea what's right in the next issue. And then she's like, and then I just look around. And I was like, oh, I'll just write this. And so my daughter and I were walking. We were just walking the dog up Capitol Hill towards the Lincoln Monument, just like in the end. I was like, well, I'll just write this. It's just a dad and a daughter walking a dog. And she's like, is that a comic book? And I was like, well, they can't stop me now. I have a contract. So, and that's what issue 6 was. It was her having. It was Lizzie and Steve having a dog walk and sort of sharing moments and sharing what might be their last day, but might be their first day together.
Carrie says, I'm assuming that means Joanne Woodward, 95 and still alive.
Told you, I freaking knew it.
I thought for sure she had
She
passed
has
away.
she has Alzheimer's, so she's not
Oh,
with us.
yeah. Oh,
but
that's tragic.
still around.
But no, it's the quiet.
Thank you for this.
issues.
Thank you for noting that I knew something more about some old pop culture thing than John. That's my own personal Nobel Peace Prize. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, okay, but it's the quiet issues. When Wolverine and Nightcrawler are in the bar and just having the conversation. When Johnny Storm dies and Franklin and Peter Parker are up on the rooftop, and he's like, I know what it's like to lose an uncle. I mean, those are the moments, man.
No, 100%.
So good job.
Sandman and Thing and the 2-in-1.
Yes.
In the bar, it's
Yes.
time.
Even recently, Fraction and Batman, Killer Croc and Batman.
Yeah.
In their conversation.
Those are wonderful moments in comics. I personally love to read. And the king of them is Bendis, who we already brought up. He's the one who sort of made conversations a central part of his imprint on comics that I have stolen from him as much as I possibly can.
I would agree. Do you think you would come back and do more Trinity?
I loved that Trinity series. I just loved writing it. It was my love letter to a half of my comic fandom. Half of me was raised on Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns and 5 Year Later Legion, sad, gritty comics, which try to touch on both postmodernism and the meaning of life. And I love those comics, and I've written 10 years of them, and I love them. But then half of me was raised on a different kind of comics. I was raised on Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes and Bloom County.
Sure.
And those are just like the fancy ones. I was also raised on Beetle Bailey and Hagar and Wizard of Id and all that. Like I read the comic strips every single morning of my life as a child until I went to college, and then I still read them every Sunday. So like that is as part of my DNA as the other part is. And I never get to sort of flex that muscle. And in Trinity, I finally got to flex that muscle. I got to write. And I had the perfect artist of Belen Ortega, who could draw in that sort of Bill Watterson kind of. Bouncy. Bouncy is a perfect way to put it. It's not cartoony, it's bouncy. It has a certain kind of energy to it, Yeah. And so I finally got to stretch that muscle and do something that's completely not like anything I've ever done, which is it's fun. It's and it's emotional, just like Peanuts. I read a Peanuts this weekend, which crushed me. There's emotion in it, but there's also jokes, and there's also silliness, and there's also art. And it was just my chance to flex my love of that half of my DNA.
And we discussed it before, but you took the goofiest aspect of Robert Kanigher's Wonder Woman run of having the 3 ages of Wonder Woman all together.
Yeah.
Because she, as you know, I'm telling this for the younger audience, she was the original Wonder Girl. It was Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, and Wonder Tot. And we got that same experience with the 3 stages of Lizzie.
Yeah. And I took that, and as I said to you before, like only you and I understand this shout out, but I turned into, and then I added on top of it the silliest plot anyone has ever launched into a comic, which is all three of these timelines, their Batmans and Superman have been magically turned into corgis and have gotten lost in time. And so each of them have to go on individual missions to find these missing corgis throughout the DC continuity. And that is, I heard a great phrase. Was it on your podcast where it's like, I'm not writing all ages. All ages turns people off. I'm writing comics that are for comic fans and can be read by children. That's a better way to put it, I think.
That is a better way.
This is a book that, you're going to love as a comic fan, but if you want to read it with your daughter or son, you can. Like that's the absolute idea behind it. And it's off being pen. It's wonderful. They're going to print it as like that smaller size, it's a little more friendly.
Tom, honestly, and I gotta remember to tell Clark Bull the next time I talk to him. I let him know all the DC people that I got coming up, but those things are fantastic. And again, it came up in conversation during the Parker book club thing, because Darwin and Ed Brubaker's Catwoman, a wonderful, nice, thick book. It's only $10. It's a great deal.
Well, that is the reason I'm here. I'm obviously not here just to talk to you. God, that would be horrible. I'm here for two reasons. Number one, I want to find out just how happy you are about New Trek. I've heard you love it, and
we'll get to that.
And you're generally neutral. I have there rumors that go either way.
No.
And I want to hear, and I'm here to promote this wonderful book that just came out, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. You may have heard of it. And there it is.
Hey, I'm helping you.
I am at the very beginning of a long 5-month press tour, and of course, one of my first stops had to be my first press. One of my oldest friends in the industry, John, where we are trying to do what comic fans always say we should do. Where I'm actually listening to comic fans, which is to say, here's a movie based on this book. Why don't we use this movie to expand the industry? And so there's a Supergirl movie coming out. So for the next 5 months, I will be anywhere and everywhere telling people that this is based on a book, and it's a book you can give to anyone. You can give to someone who's read comics for 40 years, or you give to someone who's never read a comic before, and they can love it and learn what we love about this medium. It's to me. This is not true for all my books. It'd be Vision, Mr. Miracle. Some of the books I love are harder things to give to first timers. Supergirl is a magic book. It's like Why the Last Man. It's like Batman Year One. You can give it to people who've never read comics, and it can be their ticket to our adventure. It can be their ticket to our culture. It can expand this thing that I love. It can bring people into comic book stores, and it's a chance. It's a chance for me to reach an audience that we've never reached before, and I'm going to do everything I can to make that opportunity, to work as hard as I can to make that opportunity work.
Well, also it's a nice runway to the movie, and again, parents with girls, hey, buy this book, and all right, in a couple months we'll see the movie, but this will give you an idea of what to expect. I know you didn't write the screenplay, Tom. How much input, or obviously it's inspired by Woman of Tomorrow, but yeah, without spoiling, what would you say to somebody that has read the graphic novel and what they can expect, either from the surprises and familiarity?
I don't want to spoil. I think with the way James put it is perfect. That it's definitely not a one-to-one. It's an interpretation novel, but it's definitely based on. It's not. I did something called a Vision. I did a comic, and then there was something called WandaVision, which was kind of vaguely thematically based on Vision. And I don't say that as an arrogant thing. The writers and directors told me that. But if you watch WandaVision, you kind of have to squint to see Vision in it. You're not going to have to squint. Supergirl is based on the book. That said, it's someone else's interpretation. As to how much work I did on it, I'm a consultant for DC Studios. It's well known, and I see everything that goes by. But I was not actively involved in this. This was the job of Craig Gillespie, who directed it, and Peter and James, who run it. It's their movie. I got to see it get made. I'm more of a witness than a participant, and I'm incredibly excited about it. I've seen parts of it, and the parts I've seen are wonderful. Millie is amazing in it, and I couldn't be more excited. But one of the things I'm excited about, one of the things that James and Peter, and even Millie, are excited about, is the fact that they don't want to just sell movie tickets. They want to sell books. They want to sell DC Comics. They don't want to disconnect that, which we've seen with so many movies when that connection has not been made. They want to explicitly make that connection and say to their audience that there is a comic book community out there that is waiting for you, that is welcoming, that is fun, and if you love this movie, you're going to love that community. And that's the opportunity we have.
This is the opportunity that all of us comic fans have been waiting for since Hollywood started taking films seriously, the modern era. I would say starting maybe with Blade, but really more importantly, 2004 or 5, Sin City, and Batman Begins, things like that we know how great these stories are. In fact, in prepping for the upcoming Superman, Spider-Man crossover stories that I'll be discussing on Word Balloon. Among them, am I right? Among them, yourself?
Yeah. I have a story coming out with he's a new artist. But he's already pretty popular. His name's Jim Lee.
I've
And
heard of
I'm glad his name's got out there. And Jim and I are doing a story in the new Superman Spider-Man issue.
Is that a backup or is it the main story?
It's the backup. They called me almost, I wouldn't say apologetically, but they were like, Tom, I want you, we're offering you a backup and not the main story because Mark Waid is doing this. I was like, yeah, I think Mark Waid should do the Superman story. I'm not going to do that. Is Mark's. Mark is Superman. That's like that he knows that character better than anyone alive, maybe anyone who's ever been alive.
As we're recording this, Brad Meltzer made the announcement today. I think he's doing one of the Marvel Superman, Spider-Man he's doing the main story on that side, and I'll be talking to him. I'm gonna record a Zoom with him because he's on his book tour.
I love Brad. He's an old friend.
And
of course, the reason I exist, or the reason I have money to feed my children, the reason I have the dream job is because I listened to Brad Meltzer on Word Balloon, and he explained how he broke into comics, and I literally just followed what Brad did step by step by step. So, but my origin story is Brad and John talking to each other.
Can I brag for a second because I can join both of you as book writers that are registered with the Library of Congress and all the other services? 8 years ago, I co-wrote The Art of Mike Oeming, and essentially it was just a bunch of interviews with Oeming. And the editor, who I won't name, but it's easy to look up, and it's not hard to connect the dots, was a real jerk. And outside of the tiniest credit on the cover that you need a microscope to read, he didn't list me as the co-author. So the great Daniel Chabon, 8 years later, just in random conversation with him, I'm like, hey, this happened 8 years ago. And he goes, oh, that's shitty. Hold on a second. And he writes down a note. Now, this is 2 days before New Year's. And I'm like, all right, maybe, after New Year's, he'll make a difference. 10 minutes later, he's like, John, it's done. And I have a buddy who's an expert in library sciences. And he's like, oh, you're listening? Because I'm going to Amazon. He said, Chabon sent me the Amazon link. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm listed as author. Great. Then, but he's like, oh, no, John, you're in the Library of Congress and pretty much every other book platform that publishers and libraries use to track down a book. And he's like, well, John, I'm sorry, it's out of print. I'm like, no, I just want the credit. Because again,
congratulations, that's a huge deal. Well done, sir. Well done.
Can I get my smoking jacket like the SNL 5-timers now and have my writers the leather patches?
You're officially in the club. Now you have to go on your own podcast and interview yourself in a very awkward,
I've got my pipe. I am prepared. So no, I'm excited, man.
So now we're pros. We can be like, how do you feel between M dashes and semicolons? Do you have a preference? Or
haven't you noticed when people use AI? AI uses the dashes.
Yeah, AI likes the dashes. Oh yes, that's how we'll know.
That's very interesting. All right, back to you. But that was a nice little side thing. Thank you.
No, that's a wonderful. I'm very happy for you, John.
Well, you're a good man. Thank you very much. I'm excited. What, without spoiling, can you tell
I should use the classic John attaboy. That's like the high. If you get an attaboy out of Siuntres, then you're doing well. So I'm doing it back at you. Attaboy.
Thanks, man. What can you tell us about the crossover without spoiling?
I'll spoil the whole goddamn thing. I'll say that
it's 10 pages. Is it 10 pages? How many pages?
No, it's 8 pages. It's an 8 pager. I love 8 pagers. I've won awards for them. Yeah. I broke in on 8 pagers. I love 8 pagers. I love writing them. I know there's a trick to them, and I know the trick, so that's good. This is the thing. This 8 pagers that I'm doing on Superman, Spider-Man, it's not about me. It's not even technically about Superman and Spider-Man. This is about Jim Lee. This is about one of my personal heroes in comics. A man I bought 5 copies of X-Men #1 because you bought 4 and you read 1. That was the way to do it in 1991. Sure. Yeah. I've been a Jim Lee fan since day one. I loved him on Alpha Flight. I loved him on Punisher. I loved him on X-Men. Follow the Wildcat. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his and the way he's run his business, the way he launched into indie when he would. He did that to conquer the regular comics for wrestling fans. He's like the Cody of comics. You know, he went outside to come back in and conquer. And I've just and as a leader of DC, and I've been under Jim for 10 years now. He's smart. He's focused. He knows where he's going, and he's been incredibly kind to creators, both big and small. And I've never got to work with him. I've missed like 17 chances. I saw him go on Suicide Squad with Rob Williams. I was so pissed. I saw him I remember when they did sort of this like X-Men relaunch with James Tynion and him. I didn't get to do that. I saw him and Scott do a Superman thing together. Him and Bendis did a Legion of Superheroes. I love Legion of Superheroes. And I was on Batman for 85 issues, and I never got one. He literally did one splash page in 50. That's my entire Jim Lee outfit. Yes. And so this is a chance when I got the call to be like, oh, sorry, Mark Way. I was like, who's Mark Way? What's he know about Superman? I could tell. He's like, but you know, he's like, you can do it with Jim. And I was like, oh yes, that's what I want. Whatever that is, I want to work with Jim. I wanted to do it. So for me, this is and of course, I know Jim is the king of DC. He is the king of DC. He's the definitive Batman artist. He's probably been the best artist in comics for 30 years, which is unprecedented. As much as I am a Jack Kirby worshiper, read Mr. Miracle. That is about how much I love Jack Kirby. Even the king of comics didn't do 30 years as the number one guy. This is something else that some other record that Jim is setting. And so as much as he's that DC guy, because of who I am, because of how old I am, in my head, he's a Marvel guy a little bit, just a little bit, right? Like he's just like, that's where he started. That's where, when I close my eyes, I see him drawing Gambit. I see him drawing Wolverine. I see him drawing. And so I wanted to make a comic where this to me was a chance for me to show Jim Lee coming back a little bit to Marvel. So that's the focus of the story, is giving Jim amazing things to draw, giving you Jim Lee's Spider-Man, Superman, giving him a splash, putting in a character there that I think everyone will be surprised at to see Jim draw again, that you just need him to draw one more time. And so the story is the story. It's wonderful. It's focused on Mary Jane and Lois Lane, but
great.
And I love both of those characters, and I could go deep into why of them, but the main focus on this is just the chance to give Jim Lee beautiful things to draw in the Marvel and DC universe. And I think that's what the script did. And he's happy with it.
Is this your first Spider-Man story?
No, I have written Spider-Man for all of one panel in Vision 10 years ago. He says, "Aw, poop." And so I've written one line.
That's excellent.
And this is behind the scenes. Oh, I shouldn't tell this story. I'm here to tell stories I shouldn't tell, right? Can I tell some stories I shouldn't tell, right?
No, I don't want that. Please.
I put in the comic that I wrote with Jim, I had Spider-Man, and he says, "Aw, poop," because that's the only thing I'd ever written for Spider-Man. So that's the only thing I could say. And an editor who we're not going to name was like, Spider-Man would never say "aw, poop." And I said, au contraire, mon frère. He has said "aw, poop" before. There you are. And I pulled up my Vision. I was like, 10 years ago, this man said "aw, poop." And I got to go. So that was quite a triumph for me to return to his cliched roots of poop.
That's great. Everyone in the chat, you'll forgive me because there's so much to cover here, and I really want to get to my questions. But every now and then, someone will say something germane to the moment. And Greg, in fact, is saying, did you almost get to write for Jim Lee interiors between that possible revival conclusion of All-Star and now with the Superman Spider-Man story?
That is a deep cut in my career, my friend. Thank you for paying that much attention. Yes, very early in my career, they had hired me for all of one day to finish All-Star Superman, All-Star Batman and Robin, which I think went 8 or 9 issues and was supposed to go 12, and they never.
For those who don't remember, that was Frank Miller and Jim.
Yeah, Frank Miller and Jim. And I think both Frank and Jim, who are both friends of mine, would agree that is a crazy series if you read it. It is a roller coaster ride.
Oh, when Batman paints the room yellow.
Yes, that's the best scene when he paints the room yellow. Yes, for Green Lantern.
And I to Jim that wonderful, if it's a double page spread or a 4-page pullout of the Batcave, is just fucking stunning.
I'm going to name drop here, and I apologize first. I was talking to Kyle Chandler, who plays Hal Jordan in the Lantern
Yes,
show.
indeed. We're going to talk about Lanterns, absolutely.
And he was talking about being vulnerable to yellow, and I told him about that scene, and he just couldn't stop laughing. He thought it was very funny.
That's excellent, man.
Yes, I showed that to him.
No, that's great. Mary Jane and Lois, again, don't want to spoil.
Mary Jane and Lois Lane, they're wonderfully rhyme.
Again, without spoiling, because God damn it, I don't even know currently. Sorry, Joe Kelly. Well, next time I talk to you, I promise to catch up. But I know that Mary Jane is no longer with the guy that everybody hated, but she's not back with Peter yet either. And Peter's pissed at her, and rightfully so. And I kind of loved how, he threw her an FU. So is this a timeless story, would you say?
I would say it's a timeless story. Yeah, I think it's not 100%. But we do, the continuity we do reference is the fact that they have met before, because they met in the original Jerry Conway. They were actually locked in a closet together.
Yes.
Wait, a long time ago. So this is not their first meeting. They have had they've encountered each other in their troubles before. But they have a lot to relate to. They both are in love with blue and red superheroes who've gone through some things, and that's where they bond over that, because it's a small club of two, and they are the members, and sometimes meeting someone like that can really be a transcendent moment to meet just someone who's gone through the bizarreness you have gone through.
Again, I point to Phil Jimenez in that wonderful single issue of Wonder Woman, where Lois and Diana have the sit down and the conversation. And again, listen, everybody, you'll forgive me. Every now and then I'll get editorial-ish, and you're going to hear more of it on Sunday when I do my Starfleet Academy reviews. But
we're in the countdown now, right? For you seeing the episode?
I had my coffee. I'll be up late tonight watching those 2 goddamn episodes. Absolutely, man.
But I think I'll wait till tomorrow.
Women can write great stories about men. Men can write great stories about women. So those of you who are all about stay in your lane, back off. Not on this show. And honestly, I'm excited to read it, because I trust and I'm intrigued at what you might have for Mary Jane to say. But you certainly know Lois. And again, there's a lot of good friends of mine that know how to write Lois. Everyone from Greg Rucka to Gail Simone to, and now I'm blanking who else. But, Brett Bendis certainly knew how to write Lois as well. So, yeah.
Lois is wonderful. I always just write Lois as Margot Kidder. I know you probably like the 50s Lois. You like
Oh no, I love Noelle Neal, but no. Margot,
wonderful.
No, especially in the first 2 movies, although they make her
two. Yeah.
But no, she's the great, as Rucka has told me, she's the greatest woman in the world, and that's why Clark loves her, because he is impressed with her just for being the strong woman she is. And for years, I would talk to DC editors, because they wouldn't, again, DC was kind of tough about putting editors on the air. But I'm like, there should be a Lois book, just like there was when I was growing up. She is the most important civilian in the DC universe. Everyone knows her, and she's her own woman, and she can solve shit on her own. And that's what I loved about the 70s, the comics, because a lot of it really was because of Women's Lib, was like, yeah, I got this, Big Blue. Thanks anyway. Go off and punch Lex Luthor. I'm going to solve this on my own. And that's great. And the same with Mary Jane, although, again, I'm with the guy here, Pay 7237, that said Paul sucks. Yeah, that's the beauty of, the soap opera angle of comics. Every now and then, a character has to make a bad choice. That was Mary Jane. And, by the way, Peter's showing some spine and going, yeah, that's great. Get the hell out of here. And honestly, I told Joe when I read that how great it was. So I feel like I'm I'm like what's his face in I'm Frankie Five Angels in Godfather 2. They got me waiting in the lobby. Michael Corleone did this. Michael Corleone did that, and I said, yeah, sure.
I gotta bring in the elder Siuntres to sit down and you just shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna have some grappa while you're talking to me, Tom, about all this crap. But I'm really excited. Well, here, all right. Another question regarding the crossover from Mark W. Excuse me, Mark. Love your work, Tom. Just curious, for the crossover, are you working with DC editorial or is it a mix of the two companies?
The way it works is, I feel like this is all very public, is DC and Marvel each get one, right? Like there's a Marvel side and a DC side, and DC editorial takes the lead on one, and Marvel editorial takes the lead on the other, but then they share all of it between each other just to make sure the characters aren't messed up. So I am in the DC version. If you read the Deadpool Batman crossover, the Grant Morrison version was the DC one, and it'll obviously have more DC creators in the DC version. The Marvel will have more Marvel creators. So yeah, the DC editorial is on the lead of that. Marie Javins, who's the head of DC Comics, who was another huge hero of mine, who's one of the most interesting. I call her the most interesting woman in America. She's just has lived an utterly fascinating life. If you ever have a chance to talk to her, John, please do.
I would love that.
Who is currently leading DC now to unprecedented levels of success. It was a personally edited this comic and was a joy to work with. So yeah, it's handled by DC, but Marvel oversees it, so they can come in and say Spider-Man doesn't say "I'll poop," which he does.
Honestly, and again, I think both companies have always produced great books, but DC is killing it. And honestly, the series that really shocked me, and the satellite books under it, the DC KO stuff, I was expecting another countdown arena of a celebration of art and very little story. And God damn it, man, I got to sit down and really read all these issues. I had Jeremy Adams on a couple of weeks ago.
Jeremy's a friend, yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh God, man, us hanging out in Terrificon last summer was nothing but happiness for me. And as I've gotten to know him, much like I know you, he's become a good friend. And
Jeremy are the same age, and we loved the same comics growing up, but we loved them from different angles. But we read exactly the same thing. But I was like always looking for the deep philosophy shit, and he was always looking for like the incredible action kind of. And so it's like we came at the exact same comics from different angles, and it's like looking at talking to a mirror version of myself sometimes. Me and Jeremy. Also, he's a huge talker. He's so much fun because you just sit down and you're like, "How are you?" And then boom, you got 45 minutes of story. What a wonderful human being to have a dinner with.
I'm with you, man. No, but like that Aquaman Hawkman confrontation, air and water, easy to from an art standpoint to envision, but there's consequences in that story, and I love that. And again, I think that's the case with all these KO books. Was there ever an offer to be part of the KO stuff?
I mean, yeah, there were offers, but I mean, right now I'm in this sort of bizarre transition, which we can talk more about, where basically up until a year and a half ago, I was always 90% comics, 10% Hollywood, 10% Hollywood being me running into walls face first as fast as I could. And now in the last year and a half, I have flipped that. So now I'm 90% doing Hollywood stuff and 10% comics. And the Hollywood stuff is just, it's an overwhelming amount of work. And so I've said no to a lot of things. In fact, I've kind of a standard of us saying no to too many things, which is very hard. It's very hard as a freelancer to say no to anything. But I do want to emphasize what you are saying in the success of KO and how much that is due to just the creative energies of Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson, who have put their heart and soul into raising the tide and raising all ships, along with incredible creative teams. But I mean, I feel like everyone knows Scott. He's fucking killing it. I say fuck too much. I apologize, but I do want to especially emphasize Josh, who's a really good friend of mine, and has worked so hard to be the glue that makes all of this stick together. Along with incredible editorial teams, but yeah. So Josh Williamson and Scott Snyder are just making DC KO kick ass as they are with the Absolute books, and it's a pleasure. DC's in a place. I've been in DC for 10 years, and we are always trailing Marvel constantly. We've been trailing Marvel since Stan and Jack, and yet for the first time, it feels like we're starting to get ahead a little bit, which is insane to me. And due to a lot of people's very hard work.
Completely agree. And again, writing and arting, they're killing it on the DC side. It does sound like, based on the announcements that I've heard and the things that are still to come, that as One World Under Doom at Marvel, and this is, by the way, John's editorial. Tom doesn't have to comment if he doesn't want to. But I think it ran too long. But they are now climbing out of that status quo into a new phase. And I know there's a lot of interesting books that are coming this year. I'm thrilled that Paul Jenkins is returning to Marvel in a big way with a Sentry miniseries and a Captain Marvel miniseries. And I know Brian has already announced, obviously, he's doing that Avengers story with Bagley, but I have a feeling we'll hear more this year as well. And this is great. And again, we want both companies to succeed. In fact, when I was talking to Claire,
100,000%. That's our industry succeeds when both companies are doing well. That's when we're killing it.
Well, and these crossovers, it's so great that everybody is willing to work with each other. It's only going to generate sales, and that's what we need. I go back to when I first broke in with the podcast and the animosity that was there from the DC side to Marvel. Frankly, the arrogance of Marvel at the time too. And even those guys will confess to, yeah, we were a little full of ourselves. And, it was wrestling, but it was kind of rude. And I think that's why the guys at DC took offense. I mean, I remember those fantastic panels at Wizard Chicago when Brubaker and Bendis wanted to cross over Daredevil and Batman. And the DC guy walked in, and I don't need to name him. You can look it up, everybody. And he basically said, he didn't swear, but I'll swear. Yeah, no fucking way. With the way you guys have been treating us.
Oh, no. Oh, you're right.
That was a long time ago. That was 20 years ago, kids. We're in a new world. And again, it always made me happy on those Sunday panels during DiDio's run and running DC Nation when Johns and Bendis would be on the panel together and be like, hey, we're not really in competition. You know what we're the competition of? With you trying to make good books for you. That's why we're all here. And again, it really feels like both companies have reached that again. It's mentioning the original Spider-Man Superman crossover. I think this weekend, while I'm getting my voice back, I'm going to present a couple of my Jerry Conway conversations, who wrote the original crossover.
Yeah.
And, and I'm so thrilled that DC put out the facsimile issue last week. And, I forgot how much fun that was. I had that oversized edition back in the day.
That's beautiful with Ross Andrew and Esposito and art. Beautiful book.
Absolutely. And, I always say Ross Andrew is kind of the forgotten man for the Bronze Age artist that never gets his due. And, man, all you got to do is look at his Spider-Man and Superman stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, something, you're right. There's room in the team photo for Ross Andrew, for the great Bronze Age artists. And
for sure. And his Wonder Woman stuff. He had a long run on Wonder Woman.
God, yes.
Also very good. Yeah.
Yep. No, I agree, man. So, that's nice. Yeah, and I agree with Carrie. Philip Kennedy Johnson, obviously, at both companies, killing it as well. God, I'm bummed. Although I guess he's going to a Marvel exclusive.
Yeah, no, Philip abandoned us. Yes, so good. No, I would edit you a little bit, and that I do think it's always the competition can be good for creativity. And not competition like, oh my god, we want to kill you, but I think the idea of like anything you can do, I can do better.
Sure.
Always helps. Yeah,
that's fine.
That inspires you as a freelancer. You'd be like, oh my god, they did this, let's do that. Can we up it? Can we get even bigger? And I think we're looking at a moment like that where both companies are going to run, which is why, like I said, to me, it's a perfect time for Supergirl to hit this audience and to get out. And we have it in every edition. We have for the awesome fans, we have a beautiful hardcover that has the whole thing. For comic stores, we have the soft cover, which is nice. And then we have this $10 edition that you can just scoop up in any bookstore in America. So yeah, hasn't been announced, but I'll just announce it here. We already found out. We printed the $10 has already sold out, and we're going back to a second printing. So
hey, congrats! That's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, the reason that's happening is because I've gotten support from podcasters like you. So thanks.
Well, and the stores get it too, because again, the smart parents are going to know Millie Alcock is coming, and this is the opportunity to get the kids all prepared with a great Supergirl story. In fact, I got to do that for my nieces before they go see the movie.
And I got lucky enough to be paired with Bilquis Evely on this, and she is one of the great artists of all time. And so it's just a kind of art that just appeals to a lot of people, and she killed it so so heavily on this book and brought her perspective to every panel, and so it's a lucky opportunity to have a book that I'm so proud of have a spotlight on it. So, yeah.
And
can I say the word opportunity more goddamn times, John? Jesus, what's wrong?
Sorry, relax. Everything's good. And for those of you who've enjoyed the collaboration between Bilkis and Tom on Supergirl, you obviously owe it to yourself to get Helen of Wyndhorn or Wyndhorn.
Yes,
put an extra vowel in there for you. Sorry about that, Tommy.
If you want to see an artist flex, and Bilkis has won every single award for this book, and she won Best Artist of the Year, I think, in every Best Artist of the Year ever for this book this last year. If you want to see an artist, that was our follow-up project to Supergirl. It was written right after Supergirl with the entire team of Supergirl, including Clayton Cowles on letters, and so if you love Supergirl, your next stop is Helen of Wyndhorn. Yeah, and it's from Dark Horse. It's a beautiful book, and it's as good as Bilkis is in Supergirl, and she is almost perfect. She's another level up in Helen. It's art like you've never seen. It's jaw dropping art. It's a story that combines Wuthering Heights and Conan the Barbarian. It's a very weird story, but it's nice. It's about a young girl who's lost and finds meaning in her grandfather and the stories he tells her.
It's the weirdest genre mashup. I would never have thought of this, and I love you for thinking of it. But again, it really makes Bilkis stretch in a different way than Woman of Tomorrow with all the aliens certainly makes her stretch as well. Yeah, and that's the great thing. Like you said, it's as if Robert Howard and Jane Austen said, "Hey, let's do a crossover."
Yes. Which is why I love comics, because that sounds so absurd when I say it to you. But every time I listen to your show, there's someone pitching something like that on there. The imagination in this medium blows my mind.
And, honestly, at least my 20 years of doing this, it's been self-evident that the really creative people, Rick Remender, Tim Seeley, others, have had that thought of, wouldn't it be cool to join these two different genres and tell a story? I think there's something there. And again, I give you guys a lot of credit. This generation of doing that, you've evolved the storytelling beyond, hey, I want a good Western. I want a good sci-fi story. I want a good superhero story. Well, what happens when you combine some of that shit? Pretty cool stuff.
Dude, so and absolutely. And if you obviously you read Supergirl, that's very much a combination of Western and soap opera and space opera. Like that. I mean, obviously it was, it takes from the Searchers and True Grit and puts it in a space context, just like George Lucas did with Star Wars all those years ago, taking sort of the samurai movie and putting it in space.
Speaking of which, right before we went on the air, I was talking to my buddy Wayne, who will join me on Sunday with our reviews of Starfleet Academy.
Oh, for people who don't know, I've gotten huge. John has talked about this. I'm huge into Trek now. It's all I do. I read Trek books. I watch Trek TV series, and I listen to John complain about Trek all the time.
Yes, he does.
I listen to you and Cliff Robertson. Am I saying that wrong?
The actor?
No, you just had a conversation where you talked Trek with the guy who wrote Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, Chris Robertson.
Chris Robertson. Oh, my Chris Robertson. I was one freaking letter off, and you're throwing.
Well, you said Cliff, and I'm like,
Chris Robertson. Again, I'm going to get every name wrong. I couldn't think of Joanne Woodward 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you killed it on that one. Don't worry about it. You're still ahead of me. But Roberson wrote this wonderful novella that's in one of those mirror universe, or not mirror universe, but an alternate history book, and it's a fantastic data story, and where things could have gone with the evolution of data, and flying in the face of the shit we got as far as Star Trek Picard season 1. And every great thing about Measure of a Man was not destroyed, because people are going to ignore that first season of Picard season 1, as I hope they do with most of Alex Kurtzman's output as the man in charge of Star Trek. Because I'm sorry, you can't. And again, I go back to my Jerry Conway conversation as I was listening to it. He's like, it's important to change and evolve, but if you change too much, you lose the center of what made this thing great. And I think you can apply that to modern Star Trek. I'm laughing at my voice. I can't help it. Again, I'm in no pain, everybody. It's just, this stupid flu bug that we're all dealing with. But no, I mean, I'm really excited, man. Oh, and by the way, nice shout out about your colorist on Helen, of course, from Mark.
Yes,
Mario
Matt Lopez, incredible colors. One of the best who's doing it today. And he did recently the Robin Year One series with Mark Waid, if you guys saw that, which is also very beautiful.
Gotta love that Batman Robin Year One, yes. And again, Philip, the Quiet Man, this new villain that Philip came up with the other Batman and Robin book.
Oh yeah.
God damn it, man. I told him, I'm like, this is great. He's just a guy, but he's a guy on a mission. And this is the strength of the average man. If it's falling down. It's the Michael Douglas movie. Don't push the average man.
I was very jealous of that idea when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. That's so brilliant.
Yeah.
I wish I'd thought of that.
Everybody from Batman to the Penguin to the ventriloquist are like, who the fuck is this guy? And all he is just this man on a mission.
Just falling down, yeah.
Unstoppable. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So anyway, there you go.
Of course, I can't say The Quiet Man without thinking of John Ford in Ireland. So
Maureen O'Hara, absolutely, and Mary Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
I've had enough of you, Mary Kate.
Absolutely. A good movie, but the ending is very unmodern. It's hard to.
Yeah, that's true.
It was hard to watch with my daughter, and she's like, "What is this?"
We were discussing The Hunter on Monday, and honestly, there's a lot of misogyny in that original story. You got to put it in context, everybody. It's not. He
kills a woman. He's not a nice person. In that the woman he kills by just like he's strangling her while waiting.
Woo. Yeah. No, there's tough shit in there, man. And again, we're not condoning. I'm not condoning it. You're not condoning it. But it's like you can't cut shit like that out. You really can't. When they want to doctor and fuck around with certain old Hollywood movies, I'm like, all you need is a preface and somebody coming on and going, okay, listen, this was a different time. 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, a happy musical about mail order brides going to Oregon. Not a pleasant fucking subject. And they're dancing. Look,
Yeah, just watch the one YouTube clip of that one dance and be happy, and don't watch the rest of that movie. It's not recommended.
So Wonder Woman is wrapped up, and
Trinity's wrapped up.
Well, are you still going with Wonder Woman? Because I thought somebody. Well, so did.
Wonder Woman. I'm taking 2 issues off of Wonder Woman.
Okay, because
I'm coming back. I'm coming back for something I'm calling the Wonder War.
Tell me about it.
And we're jumping 20 years into the future. We're doing as I've done many times in my career, I'm stealing from my former mentor, Chris Claremont, and doing a little Days of Future Past and skipping forward to a horrible future with this new character that's sort of we've been building to since issue 1 called the Matriarch, who's the big sort of bad of all of this. She's the daughter of the first villain, the Sovereign. And the daughter of sort of the mystery person in the first Emily, and in the future she basically becomes she's a very not nice person. She dominates the world and if you've been following Wonder Woman, she's been on a quest to kill all of the Justice League, and she's killed most of them. And they all died with their last words being, "You can't win because you haven't gotten Wonder Woman yet." And so Wonder Woman's kind of, in that beautiful tradition, sort of the last superhero left standing. And she's going against this young 20-year-old, her and Trinity, who's also 20. And if you've read the arc, you've seen the birth of Matriarch, and you saw that Wonder Woman both saved her life but couldn't save her mother when she was born. And that Trinity and Matriarch were raised together on an island, and so there's just a lot of history between these characters. And so it's a little Old Woman, Wonder Woman. It's a little Days of Future Past. It's a little Age of the Apocalypse. It's being drawn by Daniel Sempor, who's been with me since issue 1, and it is beautiful, and it is harsh, and it is badass. And Matriarch's going to be the villain of the year because she is like I said, not a nice person. She has both a Legion ring and a Green Lantern ring. She has no hesitation to kill anyone and everyone, and she thinks that the world should revolve around her, and so far it has.
Shades of your Black Canary run, where Dinah and her mom were able to be together, and in a different way. But I love that you're
yes, a lot of daughters and mothers.
Yeah.
In my work, yeah. I think it's just I write a lot of female characters right now, so I just write my daughter in there, so then it becomes the daughter of the mother.
Have we seen in future scenes Trinity being a 20-year-old and Diana together? And
no, we've never seen them together. We've seen Trinity as a 20-year-old. Obviously, we see her in the Trinity series as sort of that older Trinity, and we see her in the very beginning. When I first launched Trinity, I didn't have her personality down as well as I did now, so I do apologize. She was a little harsh. I was trying to give her this kind of to differentiate her from Damon. Then as I was writing her more and more, I found she's a different kind of personality. So you haven't seen, I guess, this version of Trinity. It took me a while to find her voice, a lot longer than I should have, I think. So I apologize for that. But she's a very awesome character now, and she's kicking ass. And it's just one of those things where you can have fun. Like she makes, we're in the future, so a little Katniss from Hunger Games, where she turns a bow, but she has the lasso as the bow, and she's firing arrows, and it's just and Superboy and Batman are in it as grown-ups and big horrible things happen.
John and Damien. Yeah. That's great. No, I love that. I love that the three kids are so close, and of course the fun stuff of John and Damien babysitting Trinity, Lizzie when she was a kid. All that stuff was fun. But no, I like to see them all together as adults as well. So
it is hard to transition to this very serious story from that very silly Trinity story, but that story continues here. That idea of if you haven't read Trinity, that's like the idea of how and when is Steve coming back, because he's never truly been dead. So that story continues into Wonder War.
Oh, exciting! Because dude, and again, without spoiling, because it's not. I mean, it came out Christmas Eve. Everybody, if you didn't read it, grab it, because listen, Steve, in a very similar way to Lois, is easy to be neglected and forgotten about because Wonder Woman's the focus. But really, you did a great job of showing how important Steve Trevor is, and he understands his role in the relationship with Diana. And again, he's Lizzie's dad, and he makes that very clear. But the other great thing is, without spoiling, he's dead. But as we all know, comic book deaths are a temporary thing, much like
except for stupid Alfred, who refuses to come back. Oh, don't get me started.
Oh, we'll talk. We can talk about that for a second. But no, I do adore this, and really, it's great because he tells Lizzie, "I'm coming back. I don't know when, but I know how. Don't worry." And that's beautiful, man. So I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be great, and especially that final scene. The final scene.
Oh, I killed you at the final scene.
And God coughs up a lung.
The last thing on your lips will be the final scene.
Yeah, the River Styx scene, and I won't tip any more than that. But Steve's coming back, and it reminds me of the end credit that we've been seeing in all the Marvel movies. Steve Trevor will return. Or Steve Trevor and these stories continue in the pages of Wonder Woman.
I was surprised how much I like writing Steve Trevor. He's fun because I think I get my inner. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I grew up a Marvel zombie, and so I feel I get a little my inner Captain America in. Like he's got a very, maybe it's the Steve of it all and the military of it all, but I write him, Steve. He's very authentic. He's very true to himself. He's very positive. He's genuine in a wonderful way, and he's less reserved than Wonder Woman is, but he's still a military man. I mean, he's super fun to write.
Well, and like what Superman sees in Lois, this is what Diana sees in Steve. This is a good man of integrity, and she loves him. Sorry, everybody that wants Wonder Woman to be a purely woman-only book. There is something to be said about being in a relationship with somebody else. It could have been another woman, but the fact is, just like Lois, Steve's got to be part of Diana's story. It's that simple. And I'm glad that with the right hands, you can make effective Steve stories. And that's what Trinity 6 really is.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
That's very kind. There are all
Uh,
sorts of Wonder Woman stories, but you know me, if I'm writing a character, there's usually a romance involved. I can't help it.
all right. I love what Chase is saying here. I thought it was going to be Alfred to leave Steve back. Not who it turned out to be, though. Who it is makes a ton of sense. Sure, it does, especially in the way that Tom did the Trinity series and everything. Absolutely.
But there is a Styx running with Alfred. I got to hint that he's still out there. At least I got to do that because I was the one who killed him all those years ago. So I got
100%. Well, dude,
nobody loves Alfred more than me. I adore writing that character. It's one of the reasons. I don't know how you write Batman without Alfred. It amazes me that they've done it for so.
He's Bruce's conscience and the one man that can make Bruce stop, even though Dick, as he's matured, has become another voice of reason. Alfred is the one. He's his father. Everybody knows that, and that's what I loved about. And I'm fascinated. And I don't want that. It's so funny in that first issue of Batman that we got in October, and it's this ghostly image of Alfred, and I'm like, is that AI? Is that in Bruce's mind? And he's like, I don't know. And of course he knows, but he's like, no, we're gonna have to figure that out. That's great because again, even with him dead, Alfred is still on his mind. Alfred is still there. It's even in spirit, guiding Bruce or questioning if Bruce is doing the right thing. So that's how important Alfred is to Bruce. And I give you credit because it really shocked everybody when they killed Alfred and all the stories that came after it. Damian trying to resurrect him, things like that. It's tragic. But again, yeah, Alfred eventually, much like Clark Kent's secret identity suddenly being back in the genie bottle, Alfred will be back. Just like Steve Trevor will be back.
I have no inside information. It could be another 20 years. I thought he'd be back in 2 months after I did it. It shocked me it's lasted this long. I will say, I think it's an easy Trek comparison. And someone better than me could write a great literary essay on this. But like the reason I think a lot of Trek succeeds is because you have that Trinity at the center of it, of Jim, Spock, and Bones. And I think the reason a lot of Batman succeeds is because you have Alfred Gordon Batman. It's the two aspects of Batman's brain that are outside of him. Just like Bones is Jim's kind of human gut, and Spock is his sort of logical side. And to me, that's almost 1-to-1. Like Gordon is his overreacting human obsessive side, and Alfred is more of his like hesitation and logical side, and like they're almost it's just amazing that two of the things that have driven so much story have this at their center. It can't be a coincidence.
As you said earlier in the conversation, you're 90% TV, 10% comics, and you got a lot of big stuff coming up. For instance,
TV and movies, because I'm doing the art. Yeah. TV and
because the art. We will talk about the Archie movie. I'm glad you brought that up. But I will talk first about the animated Mr. Miracle that's coming. That obviously based on yours and Mitch Garrett's excellent series.
Thank you.
What can you tell us?
I could tell you this is my entire life right now. It is. It is what I do. I wake up. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it. I wake up in the morning thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. We are in the middle of making this absolute wonderful show as good as it possibly can be. I'm the showrunner. I'm writing every single episode. I mean, there's so few details. I think I can quote James Gunn from Instagram. At least I can confirm that he said this morning that Mr. Miracle is a DCU show, which that has huge implications for our show and for the DCU at large, obviously. But I'm just quoting that. That's all I'm saying. And I can say that we're doing it right. That Mitch is a producer on it and a designer. Mitch Garrett, who obviously brought this whole thing to life, and Mitch and I are on the phone every day talking about how to make it good and how to make it better. And there's 1,000 details. From we got to cast Darkseid, and we got to cast Orion, and obviously Scott and Barda were the big ones. And finding the right people and finding the right designs and finding the right way to tell this story. And then there's two things about this. There's the fact that I'm revisiting a story I wrote nearly a decade ago, and I'm not the person who wrote that story, because that was a very raw, emotional story that's about breakdowns, it's about suicide, it's about love, it's about sort of these huge themes of like what is real and what is not real, and revisiting that has been a revelation, and I'm utterly in love with it. To me, it's the best thing I ever wrote. But also, I've had 10 years of people talking to me about this. So there's another thing that's involved here, because I think comics were this sort of unique medium where there's not a lot of distance between us and the audience, where I've sat down and I've signed literally hundreds of thousands of Mr. Miracles over the year, and had so many conversations with people about what they loved about the show, what about the series, or what confused them, what really. And so having that, so not only do I have the original material, but I have 10 years of people telling me what works and what doesn't, that I can incorporate into this, and I sort of know how to use that while turning into this other medium and making it bigger and bolder and huger and more and even more beautiful. It's an absolute dream come true, and it's a lot of wonderful work. I'm having so much fun doing it. Just, my God, it's the best.
Well, it sounds like you're answering Jason's question that it's going to be expanded from the original thing.
All the episodes are in. Yeah.
Okay. And then Bigger Barda. How you doing, Bigger Barda? Has it been challenging in making sure it's in continuity with the DCU, or is it not so difficult being so early on in the development of the DC universe?
No, it has. It's a great question. It has not been that's not. I wouldn't call that one of the bigger challenges. I'd call it one of the bigger, just my word of the day, opportunity. And yeah, I've been with this universe from day one, since before it was ever conceived in the room. I know how much Peter Safran, James Gunn loved this project and are incredibly supportive of this project. And I'm one of the people who has read all the scripts and knows these shows pretty well. So for me, that part's pretty easy. I mean, I co-created the Lantern show. I worked hard on the Superman movie. I obviously have some involvement in the Supergirl. So having had pieces of this, that part is very easy. And DC Studios has been, just since I know them very well, they're a joy to work with. So no,
well,
it's a great question.
Clearly, James is a fan of your comics, hence the adaptations of Supergirl and Mr. Miracle. But Cooper has an interesting question. Do you have the opportunity to pitch movies and shows for the DCU, or have they come to you and been like, hey, we're adapting Supergirl, we're adapting Mr. Miracle? What about new stuff?
It's a wonderful question that I'm not going to answer. Geez, that would that's there have been a ton of opportunities there, but right now my focus is on Mr. Miracle. We have Lanterns launching coming out after Supergirl. So yeah, I mean, obviously we had to pitch out Lanterns. That was the whole thing. So if you're asking about Lanterns, of course we did that.
Well, let's get into Lanterns then. Coming after the Supergirl movie, late summer?
They haven't not announced the date yet.
I see. Okay. How many episodes of that, if you're able to tell us?
I can't tell you.
That's fair. Your Honor, I'm going to continue to badger the witness. Did you write episodes for it?
Yes, of course. Yes. The Lanterns was co-created by the way I like to put it. It was Chris Mundy who created a little and ran a little show called Ozarks that people might have heard of.
Maybe.
Yeah, I just saw some metric. It was the most watched show the last 10 years. And the other co-creator was someone called Damon Lindelof, who people may have heard of from shows called Lost and Watchmen and The Leftovers. And it might be one of the greatest TV creators in the history of the medium. I was reading through a list of, like, they asked all the critics what are the 25 best TV shows of the 21st century, and every single show of Damon's was on there, and I was like, that dude is undefeated. He is amazing. And then there's Tom King who wrote the Elmer Fudd Batman crossover special. So we're all on equal level, the three of us, Ozark, Watchmen, and Elmer Fudd. And the three of us got together and created this show that's about obviously about Hal and John and sort of this more grounded kind of adventure they're going on.
Hal and John, and basically John's the newbie and Hal's the grizzled veteran. You can make out John a little bit there in the background, but I love Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan. That's brilliant, fucking brilliant.
Oh God, Kyle is so good. He's just first I'll talk about him and then I'll talk about Aaron. But like,
yeah,
when he showed up and just he got it just like the first day, you were like, oh, because I mean there was some, I was like, is this because he's got kind of a Kyle's kind of a southern vibe, and I always think of Hal's kind of a California guy, being a California guy myself.
Coast City, yeah, Coast City,
yeah, sure. Coast City. But as soon he just occupied this character in a way, I just the moment he fit it so perfectly, that kind of that combination of arrogance and yet like a grounded arrogance that's Hal Jordan's. I've said this for many years. You can look over many years. My favorite character to write in the DC universe besides a guy named Booster Gold, mostly because to me he's got that sort of Captain Kirk in him. He's got that fearlessness that he asks if God needs a starship. Like he like that's who Hal Jordan is. It's no fear, it's no fear all sky was what I put in my book. And just Kyle just immediately got it and occupied that and had that kind of just a cockiness, but like an everyday cocky, that kind of Harrison Ford cockiness, like that movie star, like that. It's just perfect. And then, Aaron Pierre is just, he's a rocket ship. He's launching. He's the next, he's going to be on every billboard in our lives for the next 20 years. He's a huge movie star. He's in the new Star Wars movie, if people don't know. And he is Jon Stewart. When I first time I met him, I was like, oh my God, you're a superhero. When you just look him in the face and you're like, that is a superhero. I'm meeting a superhero in person. That's what it's like to meet Aaron Pierre, and the nicest guy in the world. Just both of them are just very down to earth and had no airs at all, even though they're huge stars, and treated this little nerdy comic book person with such kindness. I was very grateful.
All right, Jason is stating the obvious, but I will do it for the purposes of this conversation. He says one of the best things about the Green Lantern Corps is the interplay between the different ring slingers and how they approach each other as galactic peace officers. Can you say this aspect appears in the show?
I feel like you're setting traps. I'm not saying any aspects in the show. I have no clearance to say anything about lanterns.
I took it, and you'll forgive me, but I took it as, well, yeah, these are two different guys coming to the ring at different points in their career. We've already seen that in the teaser that, John is learning under the tutelage of Hal. And yeah, I'm sure John has some of his own ideas of what he's going to want to do, and Hal as well. All right, then let me ask in a different way. Is there a True Detective sort of vibe? Because this is a procedural, isn't it?
Yeah, James has said this. When you're talking, I mean, just to be completely transparent, when you're talking to me, you're talking to an army of PR guys of what I can say and what I can say. And what I'm limited to say is all that's been said in the media. So when you ask me questions, I'm just going to say things you already know. Sure. So yeah, James has said it has a True Detective vibe for sure.
Okay. Marker wants to know what it was like working in a writer's room environment for Lanterns, opposed to some of your more solitary work with Mr. Miracle and the Archie film, which we will get to.
I mean, to me, it was going to television school, the best television school I've ever been to, with experts who did it. Like I said, Chris Money from Ozark is the showrunner, the way I'm the showrunner on Mr. Miracle. So he's the guy in charge, but Damon is. I spend my life around creative people. I'm a creative person myself. I've written a lot. I've written hundreds of stories. For whatever 12 plus years, I've had to come up with a story a week, almost every single day of almost every single week of my life, which means I have to be fairly creative. And all I do is hang out with people, I've hung out with Grant Morrison, I've hung out with Jason Aaron, I've hung out with Bendis, I've hung out with Scott Snyder. These are my friends. I like hearing stories from like the most creative people in the world. Damon Lindelof, being in a room with him is something else. It's like he has one of the most creative brains I've ever seen in my life, and what an absolute joy it is to watch him work, and to see how he does story. And then the room was full of a bunch of other writers who are going to go on to be very famous. People who were very kind and welcoming to this kind of. I was the outsider. I was the comic book writer amongst a bunch of TV writers, and it can feel like, am I, we're nerds. We're used to being not the kids who are invited to the lunch table, right? We're the guys in the corner who are reading X Factor while the jocks are having fun. That's what we are. But they were just so very welcoming to me, and we did it on the Warner lot. It's Lanterns is shot in Los Angeles. We're one of the new shows that's shot in LA. It was very fun because we're doing it on the Warner lot while they were filming The Studio, which is winning all those awards now.
Crazy.
And there is a scene in The Studio where you can see our writers room building in the background. I remember sort of seeing it from the other side, so it's very kind of funny that we could. But yeah, so I would walk through the lot. It was even weirder. Because I was also, obviously I live in DC, but I spent half the year in the writers room in LA on the lot. And that's very surreal for me for lots of things that go back. My mother was a Warner Brothers studio executive. I grew up on that lot. I used to go there as a kid a lot. And so it was a returning. The writer's room for Lanterns was, you could walk outside and turn, you could see my mother's office from the door. And just by total coincidence, for people who know the layout of Burbank and Los Angeles, there's Warner Brothers there's a huge cemetery behind Warner Brothers, a Forest Lawn Cemetery, which overlooks, it's where Len Wein is buried, for example, and a friend of ours. And but that's also where my grandparents are buried. So so not only could I see my mother's building, but if I looked the other direction, I could see my and then I was just working. So it was a very sort of bizarre experience to be on that lot, building that show. And it was a little bit like coming home every day.
That's incredible. None of us know the future of Warner Brothers, as it is kind of up in the air. It will land, however. And the good news is that DC is still a very important jewel in the crown, whether it's Netflix or Paramount. We all suspect it'll be Netflix. But and again, I don't want to cause any agita for you and your superiors. But as a movie fan, are you concerned about what kind of theater product we might get from a Netflix-owned Warner Brothers?
All I am is concerned about everything these days, John. Have you looked in a newspaper lately?
Yeah, we're on fire.
It's nothing but concern. I'm on this podcast with you, so I'm not looking at the news for an hour and a half. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to be like, oh my God, new horrible. Yes, no, I'm nothing but concerned for the future. I will say I'm probably more optimistic than some people, especially about the fate of movies and movies in theaters. I personally think that there's going to be a return to it, and I think if there's a return of theaters, movie companies are going to chase that dollar because it's a big dollar. That capitalism will prevail in that sense, and I think people are going to want to go to the movie. I think we're seeing. I think movies were ready to return to. We had obviously the horrible, COVID was like nothing else.
Sure.
And then as soon as we were kind of back into it, the strike hit at the worst time, the absolute worst time. And we were just getting to like that point where, every summer there was a movie on, people were getting back into the rhythm of it. And then the strike hit and we still haven't kind of recovered from that. We're just starting to recover. And this summer was pretty big. This winter was pretty big. There were some gaps in between that weren't what they should be. But I'm optimistic, even just based on how this winter did, that people will return to the theaters, and are returning to the theaters. And so if that's generating money, people will chase that money. They'll chase it.
My hope is because, and also, by the way, there are a lot of YouTubers out there that pointed to this past summer and, Fantastic Four underperformed, Superman underperformed. Fuck you. First of all, I think there was an unrealistic expectation of $1 billion results because of the boom of the teens. And I get that. However, because of COVID, because of the comfort of watching at your own home, because of the accessibility of streamers, the studio's fucked up. and they made this shit too available. That's why you got to hand it to Paramount. Going, oh, Top Gun Maverick. Guess what? No, it's going to be a year before it's on our fucking streamer. You want to see it? Go see it in the goddamn theater. And that's what they got to do. And they got to be stronger about this shit, about all the product, and not rush to put this stuff on. Again, Johnny's editorial, not necessarily Tom's. And Tom can either smile and go, next question, or he can comment. It's up to him. It's quite all right.
There are $2 billion movies out in the theaters right now, right? There's
Right.
Avatar and Zootopia 2. And
Right.
And so that if at the same time in the middle of winter you've got $2 billion theaters, then that means there's an audience out there. That means there's an audience that's willing to go. If we give that audience incredible stuff, they'll come back.
But I really do believe that the B word is an outlier expectation, and that we only made $700 million. It's like, yeah, that's a shit ton of money, idiots. And again, I don't sit in the studios. I know they spend a lot of money on marketing and things like that, but because of the strike, because of the streaming, because of COVID, there is less people going to the theaters, period. And there are people that, even as great as the product is, I'll wait 6 months. I can watch it whenever it lands on whatever streamer, or I'll rent it at home. And I mean, that's just, but the good news is that is now part of it always was part of the equation. My concern, and again, as someone who loves physical media, as I know you do, that's the other aspect of the studio that they need to get back to. I had that great conversation with Tad Stones and Greg Weisman last month about the direct-to-video animation, and how I had no idea. My dear friend Tad Stones, who I've known for 20 years, I had no idea he's the man responsible for direct-to-video animation, like The Return of Jafar. That was his idea. Well, that was a fucking $1 billion idea. Yeah. And because of streaming, we don't need to put out physical media anymore. I was going to tell you earlier, Vinegar Syndrome. I bought the Dam Busters. We were talking about Star Wars earlier, and that, of course, is one of the World War II movies that Lucas used as inspiration for the attack on the Death Star.
Oh wow, I had no idea. Oh, that's amazing. That's one I didn't know. That's a deep cut of me. Yeah, I mean, my mother was one of the people who helped invent DVD. She won an Emmy for it, so I have a deep love of that. But I don't know. I go to the movies with my kids all the time. It's really fun. It's expensive as hell. God, they got to lower the prices, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like eating popcorn in a dark theater and taking your kids. I mean, especially, this is one of the joys of having teenage kids. They can go to any movie with me now. I can take them to whatever, and they just they want to see everything. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. You and me, man, we love movies, and I want to see more of them on the big screen.
When Spinal Tap 2 came out, a good friend of mine, a playwright, Mark Pratt, is like, hey, man, go see it in the theater. Don't wait for streaming. And I'm like, you're right. And it was so great because I saw these trailers for adult movies. And I don't mean porn. I mean good adult stories. And I don't know if you saw Blue Moon.
I did see Blue Moon.
I loved it, man. What'd you think of it?
I mean, it was so for me, it's hard to judge. Like I was watching it with my wife, and my wife's like, did they write this just specifically for you? I mean, I love 40s craps more. I love old music. I love those songs. Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered might be my favorite old song of all time, which is a heart song, which they did not reference enough. They obviously they were like Unto the Blue Moon. I think Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered is a better song than Blue Moon. But
the lyrics of Blue Moon depicts Lawrence Hart's situation. Yes. Saw me standing alone without a dream of my heart, without a love of my own. Yes. That's the movie, kids.
Yes,
that's the movie.
There were some cringe moments. You like runs into like Kid Sondheim, and you're like it was almost like fan service moments for Marvel. Like, look who this is, and Sondheim steals a lyric from him. But yeah, it was utterly wonderful. I was distracted. I think you and I talked a little bit offline. Making Ethan Hawke short was not the greatest special effect I'd ever seen in my life. I will put it that way. I immensely enjoyed the movie. I was a little distracted by the visuals. I thought his performance was wonderful. But he looked like he was just wearing a big suit sometimes.
I didn't pay attention to the Globes because I was podcasting while the awards were going on. I don't know if he was nominated for a Golden Globe, but I have a strong suspicion that he will be nominated for an Oscar for it. And
deservedly so. He's wonderful, and it's a very it's typical Richard Linklater. It's a play basically. It takes place in one room, and it's very talky, and they go between philosophies and stuff. But again, it's hard for me to judge because, as my wife pointed out, this is just absolutely made for you. I got every reference. I knew exactly who every single person was, and
when I get to go to New York, and it's not as often as it used to be, I always make Franco go to at least one meal where we go to Sardi's and hang out. And for people who don't know, Tom knows, Sardi's is where, after a big play, everybody congregates and waits for the late edition newspapers for the reviews.
Do they still? Because I took my kids. My son is Broadway obsessed. My youngest son. That's like he loves Broadway. And I have a love of musicals myself. And so we bond over this, and now we do a yearly trip to New York where we just go and we watch a Broadway show every single day for basically a week.
It's beautiful, man.
And you think movies are expensive? Broadway shows, woo!
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Oh, very true.
But it's an absolute ton of fun, and I took them to Sardi's so we could have the experience. But now it feels a little more touristy. They still have the things on the wall, but they still pretend to be old school. But you're like, are we cosplaying? Is this, or is this still the real thing? It's hard to tell.
They had to. I mean, as much as we all love Al Hirschfeld, the dean of those wonderful caricatures that not only graced all those wonderful Broadway plays and playbills, but also amazing posters. And I mean, everybody should see that wonderful Al Hirschfeld documentary, the name of which is escaping me right now.
They just sold a bunch of his art and heritage, including a bunch of his Star Trek art. I was very tempted to buy it.
God bless you, Tom. You're always looking for that shit, and I know you do.
Yeah, he had there was a DS9 page. I think it was a Voyager page. Like, he drew some of the more modern stuff. It was super fun.
But there are new artists that make new characters because, of course, Broadway continues. And my dear friend Susan Ferrara, who's a wonderful playwright and actress herself, for her birthday, who was also a great writer and artist, Zach Calhoun, he commissioned one of the current caricature people at Sardi's to do one of Susan. So that's great. But I love it. I know you love. There's that great corner where the tiny little bar used to be. That's now just a shrine, and it has all the original cast members of the Honeymooners in solo Hirschfeld frame. I hope that's still up. I think it is.
Yeah.
It should be. Thank you, Carrie. There you go. It was The Lion King, which I believe is still on Tubi. The Lion King, like lines, not lion. It's great.
So the Lion. This is completely off the stupid story. The Lion King is a movie we've all heard of. But what's funny about that to me personally is my father's name is Lon King, Llon. My grandmother made up the name. It doesn't exist. It's like Lon Chaney with an extra L. And his full name is Donald, but my grandmother took the name Donald, cut off the first D, and put 2 L's on it. And so my dad's name is Lonald King. So now you can find him because he's very Googleable. He's in New Mexico. But he shorts it to Llon. But if you look at the Lion King, they have the I is just a straight I. So every time I see Lion King, I just see my father's name. It just looks like Lon King. It's Lon King. It's every single poster, just my dad's name staring at me. Probably, ranting how he doesn't like Robert Wagner. It's very weird. Yeah,
that's outstanding. Let's see here. I saw a good question. I'm gonna have to get to it. There it is.
Anything.
I don't know how to pronounce this. Uzab 6937. Do you still watch 40s movies or for inspiration, or does it not apply to Hollywood as much?
Constantly, all the time. Yes, I still watch. I watch a lot, mostly noirs. That's kind of where my real love lies 40s noirs. But yeah, I watch 40s, 50s, and to a lesser extent 30s kind of pre-code movies. All the time. Yeah. What did I was just watching Crime of Passion, which is the noir of the week. which is a bizarre Barbara Stanwyck movie where she becomes a suburban wife and kills somebody. And I just watched Caught with James Mason, which was actually very... Yes, he's got the most wonderful voice.
Oh my God, it's so specific. Yes.
And I did some. I went to Eddie Muller does his noir marathons. His noir film festival, which is just launching. If you're in the California area, he's launching it. I think it goes to San Francisco and then to Seattle next. So if you're on the West Coast, go to it. It's the best thing. But once a year it hits near me, which is the suburbs of DC. And I missed Eddie because I was doing some crappy film stuff probably in LA. But he leaves the festival. He leaves, but the festival stays for 2 weeks and they play the movies. And I was coming back from working so hard, and I was like, I went to my wife. I was like, honey, I'm gonna take a day off of life and go over here. And I watched 5 noirs in a row. I went to whatever. Yeah, I stayed all day at a movie theater. I was literally there from 11 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night watching just old movie after old movie, trying to, and I justify it by saying it's for it's for storytelling. But yeah, I constantly steal from them. I'm always stealing from them for ideas. I was pitching TV shows the other day for a network, and I was like, it's like this. I'm always like, have you seen this? None of them have seen any movie before like 2023. So you kind of have to modernize it, but yeah, that's where I steal.
Yeah, because then they think you're a genius, and they don't realize you're lifting from some of the classic screenwriters of the golden age. I just got my hair cut, and this lovely woman she's great. She's 32, and we were talking old movies, and most of her references like kind of stopped at 1980, and I'm like, any black and white? She's like, I can't wrap my head around a black and white. I'm like, well, that's a shame, and you're not the first person to tell me that. But you're really missing so many wonderful stories. And she's like, yeah, I keep hearing that as well from people like you, old man. But I shouldn't say old man. She was nice about it. But I get it. But yeah, man, there are wonderful stories that endure. Again, I point to this wonderful talk with Jerry Conway, and he says the same thing, that, storytelling is very basic, and you can really apply a lot of the basic storytelling of an old piece and modernize it, but still retain the bones of it and everything. And I think there's wonderful opportunities, and the noirs are just, especially in today's society, when there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of oppression, there's a lot of regret. I mean, all that stuff is fertile in the world of noir and could easily be exploited in a modern way. I mean, as you know, in the 90s when they did Bound, that was that could have been made in 1945 without the sex, but it's without the boobs. Thank you. But it's true. I love these movies. You mentioned Stanwyck. We did The Strange Loves of Martha Ivers.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
With Elizabeth Scott and who's the actual lead in that? It's
Stanwyck, Kirk Douglas and the great oh god damn it. He's the bomber at airport. He's the bomber at airport.
My God, we're useless.
All right, Gary, look it up for me. God damn it, his name is just on the tip of my tongue, and it's truly his greatest performance as the lead in that movie. I think he's amazing in that fucking movie.
Yeah, I think he's great. Yeah, he's wonderful. And he's the star of Act of Violence, which is the basis for Strange Adventures, and his name is not in our heads, so we're useless. We're fucking terrible.
But as we're talking about noir, didn't you tell me that Human Target back in print, or what's going on with
Yes, Human Target is finally collected all together. So the way Human Target, which is the Eisner-winning series I did with Greg Smallwood, was collected, it was in 2 different volumes, and it was missing an issue. The way we had done Human Target, to give Greg a break, we had done 6 issues and he had taken a break to catch up, and in the middle we did an issue in between where I did Tales of the Human Target with some great artists like Mikhail Khanin and Raphael Albuquerque, and that issue did not get collected with Human Target. So Human Target's always been it's been tough because it's in 2 different collections, it's missing an issue, and they have finally put a hardcover out with all 12 issues all together where you can flip through and see all of Greg's art. Plus it has at the back of it Tales of the Human Target, and it's got a new cover by a new cover by Greg. So it's a completely different presentation of this beautiful work, and it's absolutely gorgeous. There is one misprint in it. I bring this up to say this, is that if you're reading it for the first time, because there's an extra issue that comes, they gave me a choice. Do you want to put this extra issue between 6 and 7 where it was published, or at the end, because it doesn't. And in my mind, I was like, I want all the Greg art next to each other and then have the extra issue at the back, because it was supposed to be read that way. So I had them put it at the back, but I forgot in doing that I forgot to add the end to my story. So if you're reading it, this is a warning. If you're just reading it straight up, just remember it does end at the end of issue 12, and then there's an extra issue. I think people who are reading might be confused because that flip. That's one of the things that drives writers crazy, little stupid things like that I forgot to write the end at the end of my story. But besides that, it's a wonderful, perfect compendium of all of Human Target, all collected together in one place, and you can read the whole thing. It is, I think Human Target is I said earlier, Mr. Miracle, I think, is the best thing. Human Target, I think, is the most, I don't know how to put it. It's the most ideal thing I ever wrote. If you read the introduction, I say this, so I apologize again. To me, it's everything I wanted to do in comics. To me, it's an existential crisis in a book, because when I finished it, I was like, I did it. That's what I came to comics to do. It's like we discussed. It's noir-y, it's cool, it's sexy. It's about my favorite themes, which are God and death. And God, death, and love, and it's a romance, but it's a romance full of whiskey and regret, and yet it's also funny, and it's about old comics. It's about the Justice League International, and it's about all those silly characters, and a revival of all of them. And a shout out to some of my favorite people like Keith Giffen. So to me, it represents just the best comics I can make. And it drives me insane that I can't, that I've already done it, instead of that it's behind me instead of ahead of me.
From JLI, Ice, who is the love interest in the Human Target book, the way Smallwood draws her, I fell in love with her, man. I mean, was really,
you can't help but fall in love with her.
I mean, I respected. Is it Fire and Ice? Was the Brazilian?
Yeah, Fire and Ice.
Yeah, Fire. I mean, I respected what they were doing with that dynamic in that team. But I never really regarded either one of them with any interest. And here comes Human Target, and it's like, oh my God, Ice, Jesus Christ! I wish this person was real. Although, again, it would lead to bad things because that's classic noir. But by the way, everybody in the chat, you guys are so great. Literally, my brain kicked in as Tom was talking. I'm like, Van Heflin. So I will acknowledge the people.
Van Heflin, oh my God, we're useless. I'm a useless fan, of course. Van Heflin.
Yeah.
I can name 30 things that he's in. Possessed is a good Van Heflin movie with Joan Crawford. Yes, Van Heflin is one of the. He was like kind of a little method before method. He was another level of acting. In the transition, like you had these guys who came in with the talkies who were kind of still, they were stage actors and they're still projecting. Van Heflin was a movie actor. He was doing something a little more intimate, a little more natural, the kind of things that later Brando would sort of perfect and take to another level. Van Heflin's was one of the proto Brandos.
And I hadn't seen many Van Heflin when he was young films. I knew him, like I said, mostly from Airport. So it was really great to see him in his element as a young, vital actor. And and by the way, a young, and this is younger. So this is I think 3 years before. Is Johnny Eager? Yes,
with Robert Taylor as the star. And that, by the way, a great plot to steal for a comic book, which I will one day steal. Where Robert Taylor plays a mob boss who's been caught, and he's on parole, and he's constantly being surveyed by everybody, and he's pretending to be a milkman, and he's going around and everyone's like, oh, he's the boring milkman. And literally they play the first 10 minutes of the movie just following, and like, oh, this is about an ex-con trying to go straight. And you're like, that's kind of cool. And then just one time he's just walking and he walks past a curtain, and suddenly his whole demeanor changes, and suddenly he's still the mobster, and he's been playing both the audience and all the people surveying him. And his best friend in that is Van Heflin. He's the one person who kind of sees through the facade of like, you're killing yourself by doing this. He's kind of the conch. He plays a classic archetype, which I don't think exists in movies anymore, which you'll find so many times in old movies, which is the well-read drunk. like that's like the guy who's drinking himself to death because he knows so much Shakespeare. Like they're just like constantly quoting. It's some sort of like it's Irish poetry and Shakespeare and drinking yourself into the grave. That's the Van Heflin plays.
I don't know if you've ever listened.
Richard Behart usually was eventually became like a character who just played that over and over again. But yeah, which thing?
Pat Novak for Hire, Jack Webb.
Oh yeah, no.
One of his informants on the street is this alcoholic named Jocko Madigan, and that is exactly what he is this street philosopher that is drunk more times than sober, but he always has knowledge. Patsy, you don't know what you're doing with your life.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
You know, and also, by the way, Pat Novak, Patsy, the fall guy, because that's what that's the thing. I love Jack Webb. I love Joe Friday, but for me, his greatest role is Pat Novak, because there really is this wonderful, edgy noir. And there are so many great radio dramas that really embraced the noir vibe and conveyed it in audio in a wonderful, wonderful way. So I actually have a project that I am working on where I might take some stories, and I've been slowly collecting the licensing for certain noir sounding background music. And once I get my voice back, can't do it now. Otherwise, I'm doing the story of Frankie Five Angels. Hey, you took my brother. And, I don't know.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Michael, fuck, I can't remember anybody's goddamn name. That's his real name.
We're used to.
He's in, as you know, Great Colombo that he's in, where he's the murder victim with all the chefs. Where Louis Jourdan is the killer.
Oh, with Louis Jourdan, he's the murder victim in that. I had not put that together. Oh, that's cool.
Oh my God,
that's a great one because Columbo is so happy with the chef part of the whole thing. He just
absolutely, he's having a ball. He's having a fucking ball. I hear you, man. What does it say? Some Okie dude. Do we like James Ellroy? Yes.
Oh yeah, love James Ellroy, man. Those books are
sure
totally fun. I like James Ellroy, but then he gets a little too after that, like the quadrology that has LA Confidential in it. The novels past that, he obviously was like a huge Hemingway guy, right? Like he you know, yeah, yes. like Hemingway is kind of the like Van Heflin is the proto Brando, Hemingway is the proto noir. Like it's Hemingway stripped away a lot of the adjectives and adverbs and the flower of things. And it's like, I want to get to the description of them. And then, Dashiell Hammett came along, just basically copied Hemingway. It's like, what if Hemingway wrote crime fiction, was what Dashiell Hammett was. And then Raymond Chandler was like, what if I just did that, but a little more elegant? There's no controversy to that, but, and then those two guys took that Hemingway vibe and then everybody just copied them. And so Hemingway kind of spread like a virus into noir. And James Ellroy comes out of that tradition, but then he's like, is there a simplicity beyond Hemingway? Can like I'm going to cut out verbs, like I'm going to take out, and then that's when Ellroy kind of loses me, when like it becomes, if it's so stylistic where like you'll be reading sentences and it'll be like ambulance, red, drunk, hard. And you'll be like, oh, there's no words to connect these things. Like, you have stripped too much out. Put some more. So I like Ellroy to a point. When the writing becomes more than the story, it loses.
Thank you, Don Lenza. Michael Gazzo is Frankie Five Angels in The Godfather too.
Wonderful. Well,
and a wonderful character actor.
Good
absolutely.
Good
so here's a good question from Mademoiselle Marie. Mademoiselle Marie, perhaps. Tom, writing question. How do you approach writing noir detective fiction in which the detective explores the landscape as he solves a crime, like in Lanterns? And do you have any specific recommendations?
I mean, that's the easiest plot. That's great writing advice. And it's hard not to use that plot. And I say that it's whoever your heroes in writing are, they've used that plot. You come up with a situation and you're like, oh man, this is a fantastic world. How do I explore it? I know, I'll kill someone and have someone solve a murder. And you're like, Tom, that's so cliche. That's dumb. That's what Watchmen is, motherfucker. That's all that is. That's Alan Moore came up with a world. And he's like, I'm going to kill someone and have someone explore. And look at half of the movies you watch are that. So I mean, there's a thousand different ways to do that, to make it interesting, to make it cooler. And you obviously saw Helen more. A lot of it depends on your detective, on who you choose and how interesting they are and how you let them in, or how you don't let them in. When I did Rorschach, I did a detective where you learned absolutely nothing about that person. You don't even know his name. You get one fact about him in the 12th issue, which is that he liked comic books. That's the only thing he ever tells you about himself. Or you can, get a detective like Chance, where I was like, we're exploring every single psychological aspect of him in this story as a you can run the gauntlet on your detective, and then the story has to be about him and his transformation and how it does. The most typical noir story is Chinatown, right? Like that's like almost a postmodern noir, and it's almost making fun of noirs and how typical it is.
Yeah,
but generally speaking, if you're doing one of those detective things, the detective is looking for a murder, and the murder is not what he ends up solving. He ends up solving corruption. He's looking to solve violence and ends up solving greed as the ultimate crime. And that tends, and if you focus on kind of that, like I've got a murder mystery, but what does the murder mystery lead me to? What can the murder mystery tell me about society and tell me about this world? It's not about the murder, it's about the circumstances that led to the murder. So it's kind of,
yes, and exactly, man. That's the thing. It's like sometimes people misunderstand what the story is really about. In SNL, the Domingo sketches, everyone's like, "Oh, Domingo, oh, Domingo." It's like, no, it's the bridesmaids, it's the Kel Squad. That's the funny, is how they all are being, 20-somethings at a bridal shower or a baby shower. And yeah, I mean, that's the funny. Domingo is just the focus and the MacGuffin, if you will, which is ridiculous in an SNL sketch. But essentially, that's how I always described him. And it's like, and again, no disrespect to Marcello, the guy who plays it, but it's like, no, it's the girls that are doing the heavy lifting and really are doing the comedy and everything. But regarding noirs and more gender splicing, have we ever discussed Gun the Man Down, James Arnaz?
I didn't know that one. You're out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, another free movie you can find both on YouTube and at Tubi. One of Angie Dickinson's very first films. It's a great gang movie and revenge movie, and it's really when Arnaz had already been playing Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke for a couple years on TV. But it's this tight little movie that I just love the story. And I do, again, gender splicing, or rather genre splicing, not gender splicing, genre splicing. I love the fact that it's a Western, but it's like, man, you put these people in street clothes and set it in 1958 when it was shot. It's a fucking noir, and it's wonderful. Just wonderful. So there's a nice little recommendation. And there you go. As Samoki was asking for recommendations. There's one. Do you have any other recommendations for movies?
I mean, old movies, old. Yeah, I can recommend lots of old movies. Every Christmas, I like to watch Christmas noirs. There are a bajillion Christmas noirs. I don't know why, but those two things go together. And I watched a great one called Cover Up, which is a plot I very much want to steal. And so talk about detective. A lot of detectives in old noirs are insurance investigators.
Yes.
Because back then we kind of, companies weren't, or at least weren't portrayed as evil as they are today. And in this, an insurance investigator goes to a town, and because someone has died there, and everyone says it's a suicide, and he goes and he's like, well, I'm here to check the facts. And while it's a very suburban town, it's very light, it's not dark, it's not normal noir city and bars, and it's very idyllic, it's very early 50s, like this is Levittown, it's just wonderful. And the more he explores, the more he realizes this wasn't a suicide, this was a murder. There is at the heart of this beautiful town, and the sheriff's, and he starts to realize the whole town is involved in this entire thing to cover up. That's why it's called a cover up, to cover up a murder. And it's all played out Christmas, and it's all played nice, but underneath you're like, there's a royal here of everybody lying to cover, because to make this dream, to make this beautiful town, something rotten had to be done. And that's what he's there to find out. It's very fun because it's both a nice comfort. It's got a little romance in it, and it's got a lot of Christmas in it, but it's also got that sort of dirty heart to it that makes it worth watching.
I wonder, and I'm so glad that both DC and Marvel are thinking about, theme kind of books, during Christmas. And I love the stuff they put out. But it would really be great to see kind of a noir that's set with a Christmas backdrop. I don't know if they've done that yet.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. No, I mean, as every writer who ever talks on your show would say, I watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang every year. I mean, that's like the new noir.
Sure. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Croupier, I would say, a great Clive Owen film from the 90s, even though there's no shadows per se, but I think it has that kind of crime film vibe to it. 9 Queens, of course. Right? 9 Queens or 4 Queens? There's the Diego Luna one that's the original.
There's a noir called Christmas Holiday. That's the name of an actual noir that has Dana, what's her name in it? But it's not great.
Dana Andrews?
No, not Dana Andrews. No, Diane Durbin. Sorry, who was thinking?
Oh, I love Diane Durbin. Sure. Boy,
yes, Diane Durbin. Yeah. Who was the great? And that's a good one. Of course,
Get Carter, great crime film from the early 70s, the original. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we've talked about it before. How many times in the cable listings? Hey, Get Carter is on. Oh, it's the Stallone Get Carter. Oh well. Oh, and I love Sly. Don't get me wrong. Tulsa King was excellent, and I'm glad they're making another season of it because I know it was on the bubble. But his Get Carter can't hold the candle to bloody Michael Caine.
I have Sylvester Stallone Hollywood stories. I'll tell you offline. So they're fun.
Oh, that'd be great, man. Who was in Cover Up? Any name actors or no?
Dennis O'Keefe, I think, is the star.
Oh, sure. Nice.
Dennis O'Keefe is if he's like Mr. Generic handsome guy, but he's actually like a decent actor.
Yeah.
He's not wooden Mr. He's also one of the former. He's like Dick Powell. He's a former song and dance man who then, like, when he hit his 40s and couldn't dance anymore, became a noir.
Yes.
Those are always welcome because they're always kind of like have like this hint of a smile, a little more gracefulness to them as opposed to like the very still guys.
And as they aged out of being boy singers, they still were pretty boys, but they had a weathered look on their face that was. Again, Dick Powell, one of the greatest Philip Marlowes of all time.
Oh, I have a Dick Powell, like a little Dick Powell shrine over here. He's one of my favorites of all time. I have.
Do you listen to Richard Diamond, the radio show?
No, I didn't know what that. No, the radio show. Oh, the radio show he did. Yes, I thought the radio show host.
Oh, it's so good. And Blake Edwards. That's where Blake Edwards became Blake Edwards.
Oh, really?
Because
I didn't know that.
Before TV and film, he was a radio writer, and it was such a fresh look at the radio detective. Because also they were very indulgent to Powell and are like, yeah, guess what? At the end of the thing, when you're talking about the case with your girlfriend, we'll let you sing a few bars of a song. So it was great. And I love that. So yeah, fascinating career, Powell. Really transitioned from boy singer to noir star to very important film producer and director. Great career.
Yeah, he directs. There's a funky noir he directed. What's called like Last Second. It's called something Seconds.
I don't know that one. Okay.
And the premise of it's got a great premise. It's a typical kidnap noir. That's kind of one of the aspects of the genre. There's a lot of movies about a guy who kidnaps 2 people and holds them hostage in a weird place, and then the cops have to figure it out and rescue them. There's like 100 of those. But in this one, it takes place in the Southwest in a desert, and a guy kidnaps like a bunch of people and holds them in place, but he's holding them at a nuclear test site. Split Second. It's called Split Second. That's the name of it.
Fantastic.
Took my brain for a second. Yeah, directed by Dick Powell. And it's kind of a crazy person. And as the detectives slowly figure out, they're like, oh my God, they're about to launch a nuclear weapon at this test site. And so, and all these hostages so it adds this other, because I actually used to do this in a bizarre way, but I used to work on this. But yeah, obviously they used to test nuclear weapons out in the desert, northern Arizona. and so this clock is ticking that if they stay there long enough, they're all going to get blown up by a nuclear weapon. And at the very end, they're like racing to get out there as the weapon blows. As you know, obviously, Dick Powell did die of cancer, and then one of those maybe one of the rumors is that didn't help. Go ahead, but also he was a chain smoker his whole life, so that probably.
Well, that's true. But yeah, all the people that worked on, and I can't remember the name of the Genghis Khan movie.
Yeah, John Wayne. All those guys died. Yeah,
and oh god, and one of my Susan Hayward. They not only shot this movie in the desert where there was irradiated soil, but they also, to do more scenes in Hollywood, took truckloads of that soil back to Hollywood, and like literally 10 members of the cast and crew.
Yeah.
They passed away. So yeah, much like me right now. All right, a couple comic book questions.
I feel like I'm killing you. I'm killing you.
You're not killing me, honestly. I feel fine. It's just my fucking voice. I'll be all right. Dude, I can't tell you how many years hosting radio shows where just out of nowhere, my voice would give out. And it's like, yeah, but you still got to work. Okay. Hey, everybody, here's Christopher Cross and Not Ride Like the Wind. And it's like, who's the wheezy old man? Where's John Sanders? That was my radio name back then, by the way.
John Sanders was your radio name?
Yeah, they thought Siuntres was too ethnic. Now, well, these are
Chicago?
Dude, this is a guy from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Well, this is downstate in Bloomington, Illinois. He's like, it's a little ethnic. How about Americaning it up a little bit? My dad.
They said that to you directly. How about Americaning it up a little bit?
Welcome to 1985, ladies and gentlemen, when employers could get away with shit like that.
I get that all the time. King, can you Americanize that up a little bit? Sounds very British. We don't have kings here, or at least not often.
Okay, I'm going to let you read these questions. They are comic book questions.
Oh, I have to read them.
We'll see if you can answer. Yeah, I'm going to put them on the screen. There you go.
Tom, can you tease your upcoming new comic with Greg Smallwood at all? And are any more calibrations with Fudd's own lead weeks on the horizon? What a wonderful question. Yes, Greg and I are working on a Batman comic book. I can tease that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't. Why not just tease the whole freaking thing? DC asked me. I was literally in the office. I can't remember. I think I was doing prep for Supergirl, and literally the editor came by. And he's like, "Tom, I have 40 pages to do a Batman issue. With any artist, who would you want to do it?" I was like, "I want to do it with Smallwood." "Yeah, why not?" I was like, "You're giving me 40 pages and Greg Smallwood?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'll do it." I'm in. I'll find a way. Again, my schedule has been absolutely crazy. And I was flying to London. And so I was like, I have all these hours because I'll be on this plane. So I wrote it on the trip. And the goal was to do, I'm not saying I'm going to do this. Please don't take it, but to be inspired by, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, these kind of one-shot Alan Moore things he did, where he did a definitive, where in 40 pages he could talk like literally about the heart of a character. And I was like, I have the running room. They're like, you could use any time period and just tell a Batman story. I was like, I have the running room to tell one of those kind of stories, and I have one of the greatest artists to ever do it. And so I put my heart and soul into it, and I tried to hit that mark, and I wrote something that I consider to be, I hope is worthy of that ambition. And Greg is drawing it right now, and it hasn't been announced yet, so I probably shouldn't be talking about it at all. But I'm super proud of it, and I can't wait for people to see it. The art that Greg's putting out is next level, as it always is with him. It looks beautiful. Oh, Tom, but as for working with Lee, Lee had, I see Lee at every convention. He's one of my favorite people in the entire industry. He's kind and cool, and he knows I would drop anything to do anything with him. It's up to Lee and how he wants to spend his time. Not that sounds like he's mad at me. He's just, he's not drawing full comics that much anymore. So when he's ready to do full interiors, I'll do full interiors with him. Are there any? Oh, you got to point to me. Are there any artists that Tom hasn't worked with yet that he really wants to work on a book together? Yes, there are thousands of artists. I just named Jim Lee. My goodness. I don't know, to get specific of artists I really would love to work with. I know, like Pepe Larraz. I want to name things. I'll get in trouble for the ones I don't name. Don't get me in trouble. You know, like Sarah Bocelli. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there's like, you know, artists that are still around that I grew up with that I would love to. You know, I'd love to work with Joe Stanton. You know, like there's just like people that I
my God, that'd be amazing.
That I would. Yeah. So there's a combination of there's a bunch, a ton, 1,000. David Lapham, you know,
Look, just had David on a couple of months ago for my first conversation. I've loved him since the 90s, and it was really thrilling to finally get to be able to sit him down and talk straight bullets with him. Brilliant artist. Fucking great. And I love his new comic, American Crime, I want to say.
Yeah.
With the guys that were behind Grand Theft Auto. It's a great book, everybody. You should absolutely check it out. Ange wants to know, he heard you referenced the 5-year Legion run. Any thoughts on that run and how it influenced any of your writing?
Oh, okay. Well, do we have another hour? Because I think we've only gone enough. Yes, 5-year Later Legions is my favorite Legion. It's one of my favorite comics of all time. If not it's up there. It's got to be like top 3 for me. I have a page of it. I've been looking for pages from it since I started collecting original art. I found one page. I found another where I bid $20,000 to get a page and I couldn't get it. So I think it's incredibly brilliant. I reread the reason it's on my mind is I reread it over Christmas break, which and to complain, and I have complained directly at DC, so I do this both publicly and privately. There is a wonderful, huge omnibus. I wish they would put it in smaller chunks. It's hard to read omnibuses. They're wonderful to collect. They're just hard to read. You have to have you have to have the right kind of chair setup thing, and you can't just like pick them up and
you put it on your lap and it cuts off your circulation in your legs.
Yes,
your legs are blue.
It's like it's a whole and you know and there's some stuff that's lost in the gutters because they're so big. But yeah, there's probably no single comic that's been more influential than me than 5-year Legion.
Did you ever get to talk to Giffen about it?
Yes, yeah. Giffen was a little bit of a friend. We would talk. We went out with my wife and
wow.
And yeah, he was the best. It's hard to tell people how just absolutely wonderful Keith Giffen was. And because he just didn't give a fuck, and so many of us do, and it was just wonderful to meet a guy who was just but kind and cool and supportive, but willing to tell the truth to anyone's face because he had seen it all, done it all, and he knew where all the bodies were buried. And nobody in the history has ever been a better comic book. As a guy who does a lot of comic book panels, it was never more fun than to be on a panel with Keith Giffen. He was number one. He'll always will be. There are other guys that are great at it. I love being on a panel with like a Mark Waid. Mark's fantastic on a panel.
Sure.
But there was no one better than Keith because give you some examples, which I hope you haven't heard me tell before. Like I was on a panel with him once and it was kind of a smaller room, you know, it was like probably, you know, there were probably like less than 100 people there. And someone raised their hand and be like, Keith, I just want to say that Lobo is my favorite character. Thank you for creating him. I just love this. And Keith's like, Lobo's your favorite character? And he's like, yes, I'm so grateful. And Keith goes, well, you're a fucking idiot. I was like, oh my God, what? And he's like, I created that character as a joke. Why did anybody like him? And the whole room just laughed, including the guy. He's like, yes, because that's such a Lobo thing to say, right? Like it's perfect for the character.
I mean, obviously we all miss him. And my God, can you only imagine his thinking, knowing that Momoa is coming to play Lobo in the Supergirl movie, and that Lobo is going to be a very important part of the DCU moving forward. So I think that's amazing.
The best. But if you look back at his writing is so good, and if you the Legion, right, and that was done, he had a scripter. He had Mary, a couple team on them.
I don't remember their names, but yeah, they were very important to the collaboration for 5 years later.
Beerbond.
Might be Beerbond.
Tom and Mary Beerbond. That's what my brain's
saying. Who are we talking about? Put it in the chat and we'll put it on screen. Go ahead.
But that you couldn't. I mean, I read Legion today. I was like, you could not do this. Like what he did, and at least what he did with 5 Year Later Legion. First of all, it's all in the 9-panel grid with Keith drawing, and he's drawing. even for a 9-panel grid, and I consider myself somewhat of an expert on that, having used it way too many times. And people say, "Oh, you stole it from Watchmen." No, I stole it from Keith.
Interesting.
He uses 9-panel grids so weird. Like he does these super close-ups where you'll just see an eyeball, and then he'll pull these are one panel. He'll pull the camera 5 miles back, and so the character will be that small. And then he'll do a running panel of just a bunch of garbage with like people talking over it with like 30. Like it's so experimental and so wonderful. And he's telling a Legion story where you are in the deep end of the pool. You're not even the pool. You're in the fucking ocean. Like the pool is only 12 feet deep. This is 30 feet. Like all the Legionnaires are not in costume. They're all using, not only they're using their real names, they're using different versions of their real names. So like maybe Shrinking Violet was a member of the Legion. Well, we're going to call her by her last name, which you don't know, or we're going to call her V, or we're going to call her Shrink. Like we'll give her 3 different nicknames, and she has no costume on. And like, who is this character? And then they'll disappear and not appear for 3 more issues as a subplot. And you're like, oh, it's literally like a puzzle you're unfolding before you. But there's this deep message about like what happens when a society gets out of control and your heroes are lost and how they come back, which is one of my favorite sort of themes. And it's absolutely amazing. And it's Mark Waid edited this. You should have him on to talk about it.
Well, that's a good call because he's going to come back hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Please, but famously, Crisis, happens kind of. It affected this. I'm not sure exactly the timelines, but what happened was they had set up, and like I said, it was such a complicated setup because they had so many characters. And then 5 issues in, they told them they couldn't use any of the characters, and so they had to literally blow it all up. They had they had Mordru in there, and he cast a spell, which then blew. And then because Supergirl was in, and now Supergirl was out, so they had a new Supergirl in, and so it's even more confusing because then they change all of continuity 5 issues in, and you're still following this story, which is about these people coming. I love it to death, and the comics feel so modern, and so of today, and the issues feel so of today, and feels still groundbreaking all these years later, which you can't say for a lot of comics.
A lot of people were trying to ape the deconstruction of Dark Knight and Watchmen, and 5 years later does it in such a different way that it really does stand on its own. And by the way, everybody, it's Tom and Mary Beerbaum.
I got it right.
Yeah, well done. But yeah, I'm so with you on that. And very noir with Cosmic Boy in a trench coat, literally trying to figure out where everybody is. And it really is the Legion at their lowest point. And everyone's just depressed as hell. And some heroes are not very nice people in there 5 years later. And I won't spoil. But it's a wonderful, wonderful story.
But some of them are very nice and still have. And like Chameleon Boy is still like cool. Of course, I call him Cam,
sure.
So and then everyone has their own agenda, and all the agendas conflict. And there's a war that you didn't even know about, and now there's a super serial killer who's killing everybody. And it's wonderful. It's one of the great accomplishments in comics is the 5 year later return. But it's hard to read because it doesn't end. It kind of just peters into something different. So that is a problem. And the other problem is it's very hard to collect as an original art. It's hard to collect. There are a lot of pages. So
they also introduce these clones of the Legion that are pristine and still happy. And again, it's kind of to really, I mean, that's editorial saying, all right, wrap this shit up. We need to get back to happy Legion stories.
And they blow up the Earth halfway through, and there were text pieces you had to read, but even the text pieces were like, because it was clearly like ripping off Watchmen a little bit, where the text pieces were kind of like, even the text pieces were so obscure. They're like, here is like he'd be like, here's cooking with a random character from a Superboy League you don't remember, and just like a bunch of recipes. You're like, why am I reading recipes in the back of this thing? Like, how is this adding anything? It's I love it. I wish I could do it today. Nobody would. I should talk with Mark how anyone let, and that's when comics were aimed primarily at kids, not all the way at kids, but they were like, most people were like, our audience is 12. Like, this was coming out at the same time as, Death of Superman and stuff, where it was like these comics were more for all ages, and he's like, here's a comic that can only be read by 3 people in their 40s. Like, that's fucking ballsy. Only Keith. I
was younger than my 40s, but I certainly did love it. So
I love.
Am I keeping you awake, Tommy?
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay.
We can go a little longer.
All right, excellent. Again, we're only a couple hours away from Starfleet Academy, and I got to be honest, man. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Let's put it that way. And also, with every new Star Trek show, maybe I'll like the next episode. But there really is this ridiculous notion of, well, this Star Trek isn't for you. And it's like, well, for 50 years, they made Star Trek that was for everyone and still introduced new ideas and young characters and more diverse characters. And when I say that, you can stay diverse. It honestly, I don't know what the fuck Paramount's going to do with Star Trek once they take full control. And unless this thing is a surprise smash, this is Alex Kurtzman's final call. And as a showrunner of Star Trek and Lord God of Star Trek. I'm sorry, the guy's had the franchise on the air for 8 years and has had more misses than hits. And in fact, it's been the animated shows like Prodigy and Lower Decks that were the interesting shows because he had the least involvement in those. All you need to do is look at that Section 31 movie and the train wreck it was, and the fact that he even let that thing greenlight. Oh, all right, but you're right. We haven't talked about Archie. I apologize. So we can talk about Archie instead of my rant about Star Trek.
Well, I know your rant very well. I feel like I could recite it for you, John. But
I
won't. I want everyone to know these are John's opinions. They are not mine.
They are my opinions.
But I do have a question to ask you. I thought about this because I wanted to ask you a Star Trek question.
I love it.
Not like
Archie, I promise before we wrap up. But all right, Star Trek question.
Yeah, not like which movies suck and don't, because we can go over there, or why Cochran changed so much for that second next gen for First Contact. Do you like Cochran's portrayal in First Contact? Because that's something that makes me upset.
Well, I do. I mean, I accept it. I mean, Glenn Corbett was great in the original Metamorphosis.
No, Metamorphosis is so good. That's who Cochran is. That is.
Well, that's the classic love story. And again, in my head,
episodes of all time, man.
He goes into deep space and is on this planet that de-ages him back to Glenn Corbett. So I'll accept it. And also,
but he wasn't the goofy guy dancing drunk in the.
Yeah, but I can appreciate. We saw the myth of Zephyr Cochrane in the original series, and sometimes the myth is stronger than the real man. So I accept that because I loved like when Geordi is like, there's a statue of you. He's like, give me a fucking break. Are you kidding me?
Oh, he doesn't run away at the end.
He does, but also I really feel, and especially at the beginning of Enterprise, which takes place after the film First Contact.
He's so goddamn decent in Metamorphosis, which is a complicated story about complicated sexuality. Talk about
and strange new worlds and seek out new life and new civilizations, and it's like, yeah, again, this is where everyone has to understand the misogyny of Star Trek. No, this was a cloud that was in love with a man, and they made it work, and the man grew to accept the fact that this. At first, he's repelled by it, but then he understands. And it's great. It's a beautiful love story. I know it's Scott Mance's favorite episode of the original series, and could go on, and I'm sure he has on various podcasts that I haven't heard.
It's an excellent piece of television. It's wonderful.
So I'm okay with it.
But I'm not here to ask you just nerdy questions. But I want to ask you a more storytelling question. And I know your answer is a setup, but is the franchise of Star Trek? Is it the badge and the spaceships and the exploration, which I think you and I probably think it is, or is it Kirk, Bones, and Spock?
No,
what is the franchise? I think that's.
Yeah, it's the. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kirk, Bones, and Spock.
It seems to me that Hollywood is always focused on oh no, what people actually care about are these three characters.
Yeah, they get it wrong, and again, this, Tom. They want the familiar. They want to bring. Oh, look, it's a new story, but it's everybody.
What is this voice you're doing? Stop this voice.
Well, I can't help it. And again, it's partially because of the way I'm screwed right now. But because it's basically a person that really passionately believes that all we want are reruns of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. No, Chris Cantwell, brilliant writer, doing it right now in IDW with red shirts. It's set in the TOS era, but it has nothing to do with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And that's what I'm looking forward to with Paramount moving forward with the new movie with the Game Night Dungeons and Dragons filmmakers. That it's like, no, we're going to get a new story. No, sorry, no Kirk, no Spock, no McCoy. You need the shape of Star Trek, which is deep exploration. And forgive me, everybody, It is a military organization. It's not the Marines. It doesn't need to be the Marines. It's the Coast Guard. And they're on a mission of peace. They were created during the era of the Peace Corps. We're going to underdeveloped planets, and we're not here to colonize you or take away your civilization in any way. We're here to help. It's very basic. It's very simple. Strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations. And Star Trek will be diverse. I know everybody's scared that the new guys from Paramount are very much politically, probably very, very different from, I think, not only the current fans, but the longtime fans. And everyone's worried about that. I think Star Trek is going to stay diverse. What I do think, though, is get back to the mission. I don't need soap opera, Starfleet Academy. I don't need, but I need to be seen. No, I'm sorry. We need aspirational characters that, man, if I really get my shit together, I could be another Spock. I could be another Kirk, or name your favorite, Picard, any of Kira and Dax. These are great, great characters to aspire to. I don't need to see, oh, I have emotional problems too. Oh, they're just like me. Well, I'm sorry. Then go watch One Tree Hill, like we all made fun of the poster when it was out, and go watch that bullshit. I look forward to Star Trek finding what it needs to be at its root, and I have great faith in the new caretakers, as I've heard from others who know about the creatives now in charge of Paramount that are like, oh no, this guy knows why Star Trek works, and he's going to make sure it does. I have a bad unless Academy is a big hit, maybe we will get 3 seasons out of it, or more. I personally doubt it. And also, I've heard we got to wait till the 5th episode of this current season of Academy, and that's when it really kicks in. Good luck assembling the team, the audience that's going to be willing to watch it, because Strange New Worlds kind of fizzled out in season 3, and even the people that love Strange New Worlds were disappointed. You got a lot of angry Star Trek fans that want Star Trek, not a soap opera, not teenage bullshit. Star Trek. Please, let's get back to it. All right, editorial over. So Archie, tell me about Archie.
So Archie, that's a good question. I'm glad I provoked a rant. At least did that.
God bless you, son.
Again, you're you and I'm me. Please.
No, and listen, my opinions do not reflect those of Mr. King or his family. So I'll make that very clear. But yeah, and again, all I want is good Star Trek. Sorry, and that does have DEI in it. Of course, it does. That's part of the DNA of Star Trek, and it always has been. But they're able to do it with smart characterization and smart stories. We haven't been getting that for 8 fucking years. Enough is enough. Goodbye, Kurtzman. Don't let the doors hit you in the ass as you go to the shuttle bay to get the fuck off the ship, because your time is over.
I think good stories and good writing can solve many problems. You can tell fantastic soap opera stories. You can tell fantastic young people stories if they're done quality. Anyways, let's talk Archie.
Please.
That's the other thing. That's my 17th job of all the jobs I'm doing. Is I am writing the new Archie movie for being produced by Lord and Miller, who are the creators of something called the Spider-Verse that people might have heard of.
Yay!
Or the Lego movie that people might have heard of, or 21 Jump Street, which I think is apropos, which is a perfect, like, doing an IP right, almost like they should put in a frame. And it's for Universal, and I'm writing and producing, and these are some of my favorite things. I didn't grow up an Archie person. Archie was not my nerd growing up. I missed it. I was so Marvel DC. I was stuck in Marvel and DC. I had maybe a little bit. The only thing I remember at Archie is, like, I tried to call the company when I was a teenager to get a job there, because I think they had an LA office. I was like, hey, can I sweep the floors? But besides that, I don't think I ever was into Archie. I got into Archie through my kids, especially during COVID, where, like, fell in love with it or reading it constantly. It was kind of laying around my house. And then I started reading it, and I was like, oh, these stories are kind of brilliant. And they're, again, to go back to what we were talking about 2 hours ago, they appeal to that Calvin and Hobbes in me. They're comic strips. They're fun. They're fun. They're light. They're cool. They're about slapstick. Archie is the butt of all the jokes. Betty and Veronica are just these absolutely amazing characters. who are best friends and yet biggest rivals. And Jughead is freaking hilarious because he just can't stop eating, and he's actually the smartest guy in town, but he's also the laziest. Which I and it's a huge cast with Reggie and Moose and Dilton and my kids can quote everything. Obviously, I got to do me and Dan Parent got to do a story, and we're working on a follow up right now. And this opportunity came up to write the story, and I had an idea, and the studios really dug it, and we had a little bit of a bidding war, which is nice. And now I'm writing this big Archie movie, which is like a whole different experience, trying to find a way to make them shine. And like with everything, it's nice. I'm a comic writer. I come from comics. That's what I do for a living. So I go back to the material and I say, what about this? The same way when I, write Mr. Miracle, what made this character special to Jack Kirby? Let's go back to that. What made Archie special? What is at the heart of this character? And I rely on that. That's literally what I was doing today, was writing Betty and Veronica talking out loud in the script. It's crazy.
Matt wants to know if you liked what Zdarsky did with the Jughead and the others, Veronica Fish being one of them, with all the Archie of the 2000s.
Yes, I love those sort of the way the realistic Archie. That's realistic. It wasn't super, but I guess that's a good way. But I mean, anything Chip does. Chip is a master of comedy, and I know what his next project is, and it also has some hilarity in it. So I can't wait to see it.
John wants to know a modern story, and set unless set in the 50s or 40s or whatever, or 60s even for that matter. Are you able to say that?
I can't tell you that. There's I can't tell you anything about. I'm useless to you when it comes to these movies.
No, dude.
But
that's okay.
It plays into to me, Archie is about two fundamental things. People will correct me. I think number one, Archie is about the trio, about the choice, about Betty or Veronica. And I don't mean that just in terms of Archie choosing to be better, but who you choose to be. Are you a Betty or a Veronica? Or it's about two women who have chosen the same guy, and that dilemma between them and that guy. And that's at the heart of it. If you read any Archie story, that'll come up. The other thing that comes up in every Archie story, this is not to give away any secrets, but I swear to God, you'll read every Archie story. This is anyone who makes a plan in an Archie story, that plan will go wrong. And that's the plot of 99% of Archies. Jughead's like, I'm going to go buy a pizza from the store today. He's not going to buy that pizza from the store. He's going to trip over 6 things, and that pizza is going to end up in his face. Or he's like, I'm going to go trip over 6 things and get a pizza in my face. Nope, he's not going to trip. He's going to go right to that store. He's going to be fine. So that every Archie story is like that. Somebody makes a plan on panel 1, and by panel 8, it has all gone completely not the way they expected.
Hilarious.
And so those two things will be at the heart of the movie: the trilogy, the Betty, Veronica, Archie, and the idea that plans go wrong. Any plan you make goes off.
To answer Tad's question for Archie comic recommendations, Life with Archie, the wonderful series that Michael Uslan started, but Paul Kupperberg wrote the majority of it, is a wonderful thing because it really is the Archies as adults. And half the book is What If Archie Married Betty? And the other half is What If Archie Married Veronica? And by the way, this is where you put teen soap opera and angst, because that is what Archie is about, as well as what Tom just described. And that's great, with the humor as well. But that's the great thing, man. These are kids figuring themselves out. And Life with Archie is adults fresh out of college. What am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Yes, it turns to sort of married life with Archie. That's a wonderful story. But if I had to recommend someone coming to Archie for the first time, just like you would recommend, if someone's coming to Peanuts, you wouldn't be like, oh, go read the 90s stuff because, you get those great rerun stories. No, nobody wants rerun stories. Like if you come to Archie, go to the classics. And the classic Archie is 60s. Dan DeCarlo art, Frank Doyle, right, or Harry Lucy. Those are the two artists you want to look for. Dan DeCarlo and Harry Lucy, they're the best. And there's always a best of those guys, or if you just get best of the 60s, that'll be and those are just gag comics. It's straight up like Nancy comics. They're just gags, and they're just wonderful. And if you want to just take, God knows there's like so much going on now. You want to take an hour out of your life, read those comics. Some of them are still they're dated, they're 60s. There's context to them. There's sexism. There's all that stuff. But in general, the protagonists are Betty and Veronica. They're much smarter than Jughead and Archie, and they're funny. The gags are funny.
Brian and I were talking after we, reviewed The Hunter for the book club, and we were trying to figure out what to do next. He's like, I want something light. Have you ever read, there's a great horror story in Archie where they go to a haunted house and there's an old teddy bear there that is clearly demonic, and it has demonic powers, and at one point possesses Betty to the point where she almost throws herself over the cliff of this.
This house. I think I have read this story.
I keep meaning to email Alex Segura, who used to be with Archie before his wonderful mystery writing career has taken off. Because I'm like, what is this story? He's like, boom, it's this story. And it's so great. And yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about the Archie run, especially during the Silver and Bronze Age. They took interesting chances with stories. But again, they retained the box they were in. And I don't mean that in a constricting way. It's, I have come to this because I am an Archie fan. And it never disappoints that expectation. But there is wonderful experimentation. There are great little Archie stories where Archie is a 10 years old or whatever. It's a wonderful, wonderful
which was found by Bob Bowling, who still alive. Like I said, I spent half my life pointing out people. Bob Bowling, 97, 98.
Wow.
Still there.
I got to talk to Victor Gorlick a couple times, the former president before he passed away.
Forever.
Mike Pellerito, a very good friend of mine.
Mike's the best. He's the president of Archie Comics.
Absolutely. So yeah. All right, let's see here. Greg, do you want to wrap? Because Greg says, in my mind, this is similar wild pairing of a writer and IP like Tom with Archie that I wouldn't think of in a million years. Tom, as an Alan Moore disciple, what do you think about his Star Wars comics? Alan Moore Star Wars comics? I didn't know there were any.
I have not read Alan Moore Star Wars comics. I haven't either. That's off the beaten path to me.
Yeah, as far as I know, Alan never wrote any Star Wars, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I really don't know.
But John Byrne did write Star Trek comics in Fumetti for him.
And they're fun. Come on, Leonard McCoy, Frontier Doctor. That's fantastic. It's a prequel to the first movie after Bones leaves the Enterprise, and you see him on an alien planet dealing with alien medical shit. Fantastic. And also, even those photo comics that he did for IDW, where he took actual photos from the original series and made new stories. No, Byrne loves Star Trek.
Oh no! If you're going through thousands and thousands of photos to make your own new stories, you love Star Trek. Yes, I should sign up. Soon. Life with Archie 125. There it is. Demonic teddy bear.
It has the demon teddy bear story. Yeah, man. It was funny. I was trying to find it on Amazon because I'm like, Brian, we should really just read it like an Archie. Like it was also collected in an Archie, a Betty and Veronica digest a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful story. I'm sure it's on I know you can buy stuff from the Archie website, and that's what I probably have to do to get the goddamn thing. And I'm happy to do it because it is so good. And
I'm sure you can find it on eBay very cheap.
Yeah, that's true. I should. That's a good point. I should probably look over there. All right, everybody, don't beat me to it when you do that. But no, I'm excited. What studio is making the Archie movie?
Universal. I'm at a lot of studios, so I have Archie's with Universal. Obviously, Mr. Miracle is with Warner Brothers, and I have Love Everlasting is at Sony, and there's other projects at other studios. So yeah, so I'm all over the studio landscape.
Someone earlier in the chat wanted to know if there's any progress because we all know how busy you and Ilse Chartier, the creators of Love Everlasting, are. But any movement on Volume 2, or you guys just too busy right now?
I mean, it depends on how you think. So there has Volume 3 finally came out. If you missed that, yeah, volume, okay. Yeah. So there's the first 3 volumes are now all collected from Image Comics. But probably what they're asking is I've divided it in half. So the first half is out. When's the second half coming of that story? So there's good news and bad news. The good news is, as part of the movie deal, I couldn't sell them half of the comic. They're like, hey, you have to sell us the whole story. So as part of the deal Elsa and I signed, I agreed to write the rest of the story. So I've written issue by issue in outline form, but I have it all written. It's all done. Because I had to do that. So the second half is all written out. And when Elsa finds the time, I will write it for her. It's a joy to write. I just have to find 3 months to do it. And like I said, my schedule right now between, Wonder Woman and Mr. Miracle and Archie and Lanterns and Supergirl is, it's crowded. It's crowded.
Well, again, and that's why, buddy, I know you're a good friend of mine because you tolerate my tech stuff. Did you see this Star Trek news article the other day? And you make time. God bless the Tom. Seriously, I can't tell you, folks, how many times I call him. He's like, all right.
John, like I said, I wouldn't have a career without you. You've been very supportive of me from day one, and I greatly appreciate you. I don't always agree with you, but I enjoy just hearing your voice. You're wonderful. No. I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying
I'm not insulted.
When you're at the bar with your friends, you think Norm and Woody agreed all the time? No, but they were best buddies, man. They were there every night for each other.
100%. It's good. Friends can be honest with each other and disagree, and then they retain the friendship. Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla could not be two more politically different people. And I was so proud of Carolla in an interview. It's like, well, how can you be friends with him when he opposes your political views? He's like, because he's my friend. And not that Tom and I have any political differences. It's all bullshit. It's all fun bullshit, nerd stuff. And that's great.
But I always look forward to hearing from you, John. You're a legend. You're a legend, which I think is a horrible thing to call someone, but you're an active legend.
No, that's really kind, Tom. And you've always been incredibly generous with the praise that my ridiculous little puppet show here had anything to do with your writing career. That means a lot because there's a lot of great podcasters out there. And I always say, jump in the water, the pool, the water's warm, plenty of room in the pool for good, smart shows. And anyone that likes what I do, that certainly helps. But truly, beyond that, we've gotten to know each other. We appreciate each other's opinions. We love talking movies. We love talking TV and, of course, comics. And it means a lot that you come back every couple months here on the King's Speech.
I'll end with this 20-year-old story because it can't possibly be anything classified about it. Well, you were for me, John, because I first started the podcast in 2006, way before Mark Maron came to the industry. And I was deployed overseas near the Afghan border. And I found your podcast, and I just love listening to your interviews with these comic book creators. But you were my travel podcast. I like back then you had to download it on your computer and then shift it over to your iPod. There was no you could not listen to it live because your iPod was not connected to the internet. So you had to and this is all through wires. A wire had to be connected to the internet. Then a wire from your iPod had to be connected to your computer, and then you would wait. And I was, I don't want to spoil anything, but the internet on the Afghan border wasn't the best. So it would, like a 12-hour download to get a John of Word, then transfer it over. But I would always prep, and you were my travel, when I had to go into the boondocks and I had to go on these little plane, and I've never been a great flyer, but little planes going in crazy places, and I just needed to I would be flying over, deserts in fucking helicopters, and I'd be like, all right, I need to relax. I would put in your headphones, and it'd be you, Jeff Johns, chatting it up. And it got me through some very hard times when I was 25, 26, and I appreciate it then, and I appreciate it now.
Means a lot, brother. And then truly, Tom had the extremes of being in the Army in Iraq and dealing
CIA,
with
not the Army, never did Army.
Army, CIA. I apologize. We need to get it straight. But this is what the people that are roofers or have tedious hour-long jobs. And when people go, I like your interviews, but they're too long. Bullshit. I'm here for, and again, thankfully, you can hit pause and get back to it. I do that all the time with the.
I listen to 3 different podcasts of Brian while I walk my dog. So we
there you go.
Yeah,
man. Exactly.
My dog appreciates it. She gets longer walks when I'm really into your conversation. So
when the world is on fire, word balloon means to be the distraction to let you escape and enjoy some nice little nerd shit. The kind of thing you hear over here or participate in at a comic book store. That was the intent of word balloon. And that's why I'm thrilled that I have friends like Tom that make it possible for these wonderful conversations.
Wonderful. Let's tell people two things then. Donate to Word Balloon. I'm a Patreon member. I always end my Word Balloon the same way. I'm a member. I'm on the $15 tier. I'm not trying to pressure you guys, but get on the tiers. It's worth it. It's a cup of freaking coffee. How much entertainment are you getting out of this? It's how much do you pay for Netflix? This is a percentage. Just get on that. Get on that. Just go right now. Do it right. You're on the thing. Just go right now. $3. It's freaking nothing. Go do it.
Patreon.com/word balloon.
That's it. Just go. I did it. It's painless and I love it. I just subscribed to this to my second, which was over at the new Gilbert Gottfried podcast.
Yes, it's fun for all ages. Frank is coming on the show in the weeks ahead. I know he gave me a nice shout out on the Christmas episode and really said nice shit about Word Balloon. And Liefeld did on his show this week. They're talking about the Kirkman Manifesto. And he's like, I got this from John Siuntres, and God bless him, he was so sweet. He's a national treasure. And that's a little high-minded, but I appreciate the sentiment, Rob. So, but while we're saying nice things,
well, Gil, say hi to Frank. But this is the other thing. So the other guy, the reason I'm on this tour, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is out now. It's out in hardcover, it is out in softcover, and it is out in a $10 edition. Bilkis and I poured our hearts into this. It's becoming a movie, and it's something I love. You can give it if you already have it. It's a great gift, and just get the word out that there is a comic book out there for everybody. It's gonna be a movie, and I appreciate it.
And Wonder Woman, 2-month break. You got Stephanie Phillips doing a wonderful job. I already read the first issue, but then Wonder War coming up in a couple months. Correct?
Yeah, and then Wonder War coming up in a couple months. But you can figure out that just those two things: Patreon, Supergirl. That's it.
All right, fair enough. And there you go, everybody. Another wonderful edition of the King's speech from my dear friend Tom King, who always says nice things about me. And I'm always happy to talk to, whether we're talking in private or here on the public forum. So, as always, Tommy, thank you very much. And all the best to the family and everybody else. Until next time, everybody. Again, I'm recording with Meltzer on Friday about his Superman Spider-Man crossover.
I will be listening to that. I love Brad. Wonderful.
And the rest of the month is going to be amazing here at Word Balloon. Join us. Until next time, everybody stay safe, stay happy, and find a better voice than mine.